commissioners, thank you so much, and as well as our mayor, for always keeping that crest up on the wall and including God in all that we do. And thank you for the invitation, Commissioner Bermudez, and it's always good to see Commissioner Regalado, who we are able to have our church in both of your districts at our two campuses for Metro Life Church. If you feel comfortable doing so, bow your heads in prayer with me today. Father, it's a good day. Every day that we're able to wake up in this beautiful city of ours in our county. It's a great day. And that's why on this particular morning, we want to take a minute to pause before we get down to business and just thank you for all your goodness that you make available for us. Like David says in the Word, we want to bless you and enjoy the life that you've called us to live in the land of the living. So on this day, we're asking for your guidance. We're asking for your grace. We're asking for your empowerment. I pray that these commissioners, Lord, who are serving in one of the highest capacities of a life's calling, which is the well-being and the leadership of others, to serve others, I pray on this particular day and every day they'll just lean in to the Spirit of God who wants to guide their footsteps, help them, bless them in every area of their life. And as they continue to give out of themselves to serve others, then, Lord, I ask you would serve them, serve their home, serve their marriages, serve their children. Bless them abundantly. And now, as they get busy to do the business, we ask for your guidance, we ask for your protection, we ask for your blessings in a unique and special and very tangible way. For this is the day that the Lord hath made, and somehow our lives are going to rejoice and be glad in it. And all of these things we ask in your mighty name. Amen, and amen.
Be seated. Thank you, Pastor, for those very nice words. Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate and it's the will of this body, I ask that we do a moment of silence for the men and women of the armed services who lost their lives in service to this country.
Please rise as we join Commissioner Gilbert in a moment of silence for the men and women who have lost their lives in service. Thank you. All right, and thank you for that, Commissioner Gilbert. All righty. Madam Attorney, can we move into reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard?
Good morning. Yes, that would be appropriate.
All right. For reasonable opportunity, I have 4 speakers. As I call your name, please come up to the wells and state your name and address for the record, the item you're speaking on, and you will have 1 minute to speak. Janie Jackson, Sharon Frazier, Theophilus Williams, and Kenneth Brown. Come on up.
Now, Janie Jackson, 1161 Northwest 50th Street, Miami, Florida, 33127.
Say what you got to say. Appropriations. Come on now. Come on, speak your mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to speak about the housing crisis among our elders. When is it going to change? We put y'all in y'all places to help the community, And when I look around and when I'm walking or when I'm riding, whatever that I'm doing, I see too many elders that don't have a living space. And I just wish and pray that you guys and girls understand that that could be any one of us. So y'all have to do more about these elders. They don't have much time. They deteriorating by the day.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Good morning, wonderful chairman and commissioners and mayor's office, Morales. First, I want to thank you, Chief Morales, for bringing your people to the Liberty Square housing. Not knowing March the 4th, 2022, when my mom was living in Liberty Square, not knowing that nobody wanted to join, become the Crime Watch captain. We changed the name to Community Concerns / Public Safety Meeting because we've seen a lot of stuff. And Liberty Square, and I wasn't going to speak about it, but my heart said, Liberty Square has performed 10 more gangs. You got the Zopound Young Boys, and you got the John Doe. We had a big fight with 50 girls that came from Lincoln Field that came to Liberty Square about 3 or 4 weeks ago. There was a meeting that was called on Tuesday the 24th because I asked Jimmy to come and help us. I didn't even get the respect as the Crime Watch captain to attend. I couldn't attend because I was in the hospital with kidney stone surgery, but at least give me the audacity, the respect to bring my staff
Thank you.
to come. So I'm asking you, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for doing, and
Can you put your name and address on the record for me?
I'm scared. I just told you.
Don't be scared. Don't be
You
scared.
gonna have the police at my house? You gonna have, where's Rosie?
We do have a good sheriff's department.
I know we got a good major at the north side, Major Vernon Williams. I met with him.
We do.
But Jimmy, please,
All right.
I need to see the sheriff before I call the state attorney
All right, I have
and
Sharon
call everybody
Fraser.
else because nobody wanted to be the Crime Watch. Nobody raised their hand. I did.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Y'all probably can go to your
That's
house and
6516 Northwest.
put people out there like that.
All right. All right. Sir?
Theophilus Williams, 1391 Northwest 95th Street. All money ain't good money. I wants to know, and I live in a district too, the rollover is $6 million, they told us at the meeting. Old money and good money. And when you combine two CRA together, and the board already established by everybody, but when I look at the board, when the community look at the board, it's not, neither one of us in that community has been pointed to that board. Everybody now wants to build over us for what they want. It's nothing personal. I asked about streets. Everybody talking about streets. Board of Commissioners, I don't know who responsible for it. I can't blame the mayor or the commissioner, but something got to be did about these roads on 95th. If not, we just have to do an order and call Washington to come and help us with this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
Yes. Good morning to everyone. Kenneth Brown, 12300 Northwest 17th Avenue. Last month, we had a meeting that they called the MAC, and this gentleman, Kenneth Kirkpatrick, was there, and he made a bold statement that when the people were speaking, he stood up and he had said that won't all y'all go back to Egypt, pretty much go back into slavery. You got somebody like that that's representing Miami-Dade County, which she'll be removed from all of his duties when he tell people that they need to go back to Egypt. And the other thing is that nothing is fair here for the black people in this community. So what I'm deciding is that separation but equal. If we separate everything and everybody go into their own way, you put the blacks on this side and all of us on this side, and all the inventions and everything that the black people created and came up with, just let them get a royalty of those things. And then that way we can control and we can monitor our own people. We don't have to go and be up under the understanding like we begging for everything. Because majority of the money that actually came down from years ago to start this commissioner board funded through the black community, but the black community is not yet receiving anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, Madam Attorney. Well, reasonable opportunity is officially closed. Madam Attorney, can we set the agenda at this time?
Yes, sir. 1 second, please. I'm still trying to gather. So we do have some changes, or preliminary changes. 2B4, Commissioner Milian Orbis adds this item to the poll list. That was 2B4. 8G4, Senator Garcia is adding this item to the poll list. 8H1, Commissioner Gilbert adds this item to the poll list. 8P1, Commissioner Milian Orbis adds the item to the poll list. Commissioner Gilbert adds items 8P2 and 8P3 to the poll list. 8P4, Commissioner Steinberg is adding this item to the poll list. 8P5, Commissioner Milian Orbis is pulling the item. 8P6, Commissioner Milian Orbis and Commissioner Gilbert add this item to the poll list. And 8P10, Commissioner Milian Orbis adds the item to the poll list. 11A4, Commissioner Bermudez is adding the item to the poll list. And 14B1, Commissioner Lopez is pulling this item. I also have some additional requests for co-sponsorship. Senator Garcia would like to co-sponsor 5C, 9A2, 11A1, and 11A3. Senator Garcia and Commissioner Steinberg would like to co-sponsor 11A4, and Senator Garcia would like to co-sponsor 11A7. The items to be considered at today's meeting will be those listed in the printed final agenda with the additions, deferrals, withdrawals, and scrivener's errors noted in the chairman's memorandum and the items I just mentioned. The commission will approve all of these items by a single vote setting the agenda except item 2B7, the mayor's appointment of the interim director of the Department of Cultural Affairs. Ordinances for first reading, public hearings, ordinances set for second reading. Item 8A1, which is a commercial service airport contract that has to be voted on separately and has not been pulled, and the following poll list items. Item 2B4, 8G4, 8H1, 8P1, 8P2, 8P3, 8P4, 8P5, 8P6, 8P10, 11A4, 14A1. Mr. Chair, this is a first reading item. I could read this when we take up the first readings. 14A2 and 14B1. A motion to set the agendas in order.
Mr. Chairman,
It's been moved by Commissioner Lopez.
before, can we
Senator Garcia.
pull I'm not sure if I heard it or not, HG4?
HG4.
Yes, I had that at you as a polling commissioner on that,
much.
Senator Garcia.
And you'll second the setting of the agenda, Senator? Yes, sir. All right, so it's all in favor of setting the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, show the agenda hereby set. And then Chief Morales, will you be recognizing the appointment of the interim director? What,
Yeah. Gonna do that right now? You wanna do that right now?
yes. Can I, and then just 1 second, let me, Jimmy, give me a minute. Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
14s.
Guys, can we quiet it in the back? Commissioner Gilbert, you want to move those?
14s, yes.
Okay. Do we have to do one at a time, or?
14s.
Yes, well, we only have one aviation item at this time, which has not been pulled. It's item 8A1.
8-8. It's been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Orbis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, Commissioner Gilbert, you're moving 14A.
That's it?
Yeah.
One?
14 that wasn't pulled.
Commissioner Gilbert, I just received word that Commissioner Regalado wants to pull 14A2, which is the one I believe that was not pulled.
Okay.
So 14A1 needs to be,
14A1's a first reading item. I'm happy to do that at your discretion whenever you'd like for me to take care of that one.
let's do it.
I'm sorry.
Let's do it.
Let's do it? Okay, 1 second.
No, that's the talking, what you're talking.
14A1 is an ordinance relating to the Miami-Dade County Parking Code, amending Section 30-49 of the code, authorizing parking enforcement entities to issue invoices by mail for non-payment of parking charges, amending Section 30-52 of the code, authorizing parking enforcement entities to enforce additional parking violations through parking citations by mail, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. This is an ordinance for first reading.
All right. we have a motion by Commissioner Gilbert to move that item, a second by Commissioner Lopez. Seeing no discussion, because we can't. All in favor signify.
It's a roll call.
All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Bastian. Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert.
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Milian Orbis. Commissioner Regalado. Commissioner Steinberg. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, show that one first reading item passed.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, my understanding is that Commissioner Lopez has a procedural motion she'd like to make with respect to this first reading that just passed. I don't know if you would like for me to deal with that now?
Let's do it now.
Commissioner Lopez moves to suspend the board's rules of procedure and waive committee review and the 4-week, 6-week municipal notice requirement as to item 14A1 and amend 14B1 to schedule the public hearing and second reading for item 14A1 at the March 17, 2026 meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, to direct the agenda coordinator to send the appropriate municipal notices and direct the clerk of the board to publish all necessary notices relating to this item. If this motion's approved, 14B1 on your pull list will be as amended.
All right. So
I'll second her
you move it's been seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the motion passing. Madam Attorney, I just had my team distribute a motion. If you can read mine as well.
In response to the Mayor's March 2nd, 2026 report on the feasibility of creating a new airport capable of accommodating cargo, commercial passengers, and general aviation activities as directed by this board, and resolution number R-1096-24, the report, I move to direct the county mayor's designee to, with respect to the 3 potential sites for a new airport identified in the report, take all the steps identified in section 13 of the report, conclusion and next steps, as well as identify proposed funding sources for the new airport, and to provide a status report to this board within 90 days from the date of this motion and every 90 days thereafter. Such report shall be placed on an agenda of the full board without committee review pursuant to Rule 5.06J of this board's rules of procedure.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. It's my motion, but moved by Commissioner Cohen, seconded by Commissioner
second it.
Gilbert. Commissioner Regalado, you recognized.
Yeah, I just have a general question about this, and I read the report. As I mentioned when this item first was brought up by Commissioner Cabrera, this has been reviewed several times in Miami-Dade County's history, and time again, the cargo community has been left out of the conversation. So we spend a ton of time and money, and then they don't want to go because there's a whole logistical issue with getting their goods out of certain airports. So my only recommendation is this time around, let's make a different mistake. Can we include the existing cargo community? There's a committee, like, can they have representation before they bring us back something, so then we don't have to deal with the backlash?
Absolutely, and it's in the motion. I said actually, it's the first one, right? Accommodating cargo, but yes, that's.
But I mean, the current cargo users at MIA, they have a committee.
To have a voice at the table.
Right, let them have input in this, because if not, it'll go sideways on us. Thank you.
Of course. Do we have to actually change something in it, or would the administration, to the attorneys?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Bermudez.
Yeah, thank you. There is a Florida Custom Brokers Federation. There are other organizations that I think
Yep.
also should be.
Well, that's what I was going to say, that I think all interested parties should have a seat at the table for sure.
Which would be yeah.
Yeah, so to the mayor, on my motion, I know you're just getting settled in, but it's to continue exploring based on your report, the 3 airport options that you provided in your report and your administration did, just to continue that exploration, but include any and all stakeholders as part of the conversation.
Chairman?
Yep, thumbs up. Okay, Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
Yeah, just a question. When it says explore funding options, my assumption is that this is going to be funded as a part of a proprietary system, as a part of MDAD.
Correct.
And so it's going to be funded by user fees at some level. So that, I just want to be clear, that's my expectation when we go into this, that I don't want, the
that's-
bonding and all that stuff is gonna come through MDAD and not against the general revenue capacity of the county. Thank you.
Through the chair, yes.
Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you for that. Do you think, Commissioner Regalado, that suffices?
Yep, that's fine, as long as they have the ability, the associations, you know, the distributors, as long as they have a seat at the table, I think it'll save us a lot of time.
All right, there's a motion by Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the motion passing.
Mr.
All right, Commissioner Regalado.
Yeah, I have an amendment to 7D that was pulled. I think the amendment will resolve the issue, if I can have the attorneys read it.
We would need to read the title first. That would be item 7D as in
Dog.
Delta.
I'll say delta instead of dog.
Well, 7D is a public hearing, right?
It's a second reading ordinance.
It's in my public hearing. Oh, no, it's a second reading. Yep. Go ahead.
7D is an ordinance relating to zoning in the unincorporated area, amending section 33-284.87 of the code, amending standard urban center district regulations to provide for certain digital point-of-sale signage in the downtown Kendall Urban Center District under certain circumstances, amending standard urban center regulations to provide for certain residential building identification signs, directing the mayor designee to take certain action, and establishing county policy relating to revenue sharing agreements and arrangements with respect to signage on county-owned and county-occupied properties, and establishing county policy as to how such revenue paid to the county should be used, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. Commissioner Regalado, would you like for us to read the amendment?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Regalado moves to amend the first paragraph of Section 3 to provide that for the county policy related to revenue sharing agreements or arrangements related to county-owned or county-occupied properties that are adjacent to the underline, any such revenue paid to the county shall be used for expenses for maintenance and operation of the trail connector multi-use pedestrian and bicycle path described in Section 33-284.63.3B1 of the Code of Miami-Dade County, Florida.
So, Mr. Chair, I just got your amendment, which is very similar. If you remember, this item created a connector between the underline, the Ludlam Trail, and the Snapper Creek. So what I'm changing is I'm taking out the underline, and I'm just using whatever revenue could come of that to build and maintain that connector.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with that.
Second.
I'm not
We have a motion, we have a second. My amendment was just, so I just want to make sure that it does the same thing. I was trying to listen to your amendment. The way I understood the original item, it encompasses any revenue sharing from adjacent throughout the corridor of the underline from A through Z.
No, this is just the Dadeland Kendall. It's just one location. It's just the
good with that.
Dadeland Kendall Urban Center.
I'm good with that, and I think it's a good thing to find revenue sharing sources. To the attorneys, is that right?
Oh, I'm good, yeah.
The amendment is sound.
The amendment is sound? Okay, so it accomplishes what Aneri, you're the one in my briefing, so, yes? All right, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Yeah, I think I probably still have a problem with the amendment. So the connector system, not everyone in the connector system is treated the same by the county. And so I need to know from the attorneys, can money from this revenue sharing go to the underline very specifically, because they are an independent line item in our budget that siphons off money every year. So if this is going to go to all of the other things, that's fine. But if this is going to be in the underline, we have to have a greater conversation about how we actually fund the underline. Because as I counted, this is supposed to be something like a $4 million thing that turned into an $80 million thing. And so, no, I'm not going to be okay with this unless it excludes the underline, because we actually fund them in different ways.
It does.
You're recognized.
I'm going to need that from, and no offense or question your
It does.
veracity, but I'm going to need that from the attorneys in the administration, that money from these revenue sharing can't go to the underline without actually coming back
Well, are
to
the
this
trails-
board.
It's a simple question.
It goes to the trail, specifically to the trail connector, which is not the underline. The trail connector is that piece that we created inside downtown Dadeland to connect the underline to the Ludlam Trail and the Snapper. This can only go to that connector.
And so, like I said, I'm not questioning your veracity, but my question is to the attorneys and the administration. I need to hear it from them. So how they're going to interpret this, how this is going to work, and where the money's going to go. I need to hear from them.
All right, to the attorneys, is this a simple answer?
We are reviewing the definition of the trail connector to see if it's included or not.
Okay, is the trail county, is the trail county, or it's its own entity?
No, it's just the trail connector is I think it was like 0.8 miles
But is
that we
that-
did inside Dadeland.
Who manages that? Us?
Yeah, it would be us.
So isn't it simple to just say that because it's state county, it's just, I don't know.
The idea here with the connector is that we were gonna build it in part with the impact fees from the development that we did from the land swap that created the connector. And then this money is gonna go to maintain it so that we're not taking money from anyone. So I created a revenue specifically for that connector.
Yeah, no, and look, I understand. I understand your concerns as well, Commissioner Gilbert. You satisfied my piece of the amendment with yours. And I see what you're doing, which I commend you for. You're trying to find revenue for, well, at the time before the amendment, for the underline, given the environment here, but I commend, that's not a bad thing, and you're trying to get it from within that area. So I just wanted to make sure, and I was generally okay with that. I just wanted to make sure it was that section. You appeased me, but
I appreciate that.
you want to respond?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, to be abundantly clear, we would need staff to confirm it. However, the definition of trail connector is a portion of 70th Avenue that ends at 80th, at 80th Street, which is before reaching the underline, as far as we can tell from looking at the maps and reading the language ourselves. However, if you'd like, we can clarify specifically through a further amendment that none of the money would go towards.
I'm comfortable with that as long as the administration is comfortable with that, because they're the people who are going to ultimately be doing the work. As long as they're comfortable with an understanding of this board that money won't be going to the underline. And then, Mr. Chairman, on the item specifically, which I'll support, but I want us to be cognizant of what we're doing. The general model is that we're one community and stuff goes into, if you're a product of the general fund, we produce money, it goes in the general fund, and you can actually use it anywhere in the general fund. That's the general model. We're moving farther and farther away from that. So what we're saying is money generated in specific areas are going to be used in those specific areas. That is the model that we're going down. And we can be comfortable with that. I just want us to be mindful that the highest form of flattery is imitation. And so when other commissioners start to use that model to actually fund things in their district, it becomes a system of greater disparities. There's already disparities. There's disparities. But it becomes a system of greater disparities. So consciously, I just want us to consciously make the decision that this is what we're going to do. This is the model we're pursuing. So when someone says they're creating a funding model, it's not a unique funding model. They're taxes and fees that are generated from stuff that's built in certain areas. You want to keep them in that area. That's not unique. That's what they did when they segregated schools. It's exactly what they did. That's why some systems were underfunded and some systems were overfunded. So I don't want us to think that we have we're not being brilliant here. It's a throwback. So we can do that, but I just want us to understand that's what's being done.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Senator Garcia.
Thank you. I too had issues, Commissioner Gilbert, I do had issues with it, but I think the amendment suffices it. And look, at the end of the day, this trail is going to have to be maintained by tax dollars one way or another. It's still going to come from the general revenue. It's going to come from parks, whatever the case may be. So creating a funding source that will limit its impact on us, I think it's okay. I'm okay with it like you are right now, but I do caution being careful when we move forward as policy. We set policy that we are going to keep money in everyone's district, and if we're one Miami-Dade, we're one Miami-Dade. But however, on this issue, at the end of the day, it's still going to have to come out of general revenue. So we are all asked to be creative on funding solutions, and I think I'm okay with this amendment. I appreciate you proffering it and bringing it before the county. So if there's a motion, I'll second it.
I'll move it as amended.
Yeah, Commissioner Steinberg.
Thank you. I have just a quick question for clarification. For the record, I support your ordinance, but just on section 3, I know it does reference that we're also now outside the Kendall Urban Center, that this applies county-wide to all county-owned properties, that we're just basically now, and maybe I just need clarification, are we giving the green light for the administration on their own to negotiate contracts throughout all our districts? Because I think that needs to maybe be tightened. Again, that's outside the scope of, I think, what you want to do, and so I would.
So from a drafting perspective, you know, this is, there's signage there that's blocked by trees that were put by FDOT. So that's how we even get into this. So I have to change the signing because I can't remove what was planted by FDOT. And in order to do that, we were told that we had to draft it as a county-wide thing, even though specifically it's this particular thing. So the attorneys, I'm happy to amend it if the attorneys are happy. I had this conversation at length.
Clarify, I mean, I know that.
At length.
I thought her amendment took care of that, though.
They can draft, Mr. Chairman, they could, the policy applies to everyone's district, and then that money would go to, no.
All right, hold on, Commissioner. Neri, can you just clarify, or?
Mr. Chair, what I'm understanding, if there's an additional amendment that clarifies, which is your amendment, Mr. Chair, that clarifies that the revenue sharing agreements and arrangements related to county-owned property or county-occupied properties be those properties that are within the downtown Kendall Urban Center District, then the monies would be collected only from those properties.
Okay, but hers does not, I thought.
Mine says adjacent. Mine says that must be adjacent. And that's what the attorneys had told me so that I wouldn't call out specifically the
adjacent is
urban
fine.
center. But I'm happy to add the urban center too if we're gonna double down on adjacent. But I was told that adjacent would be only the Dadeland Urban Center because it's the only situation in which we have signage that's blocked by trees that now needs to be replaced.
All right, what's the right posture for it to pass? And let's take a vote on this.
So Commissioner Regalado's motion addresses where the monies are going to be applied,
Okay,
and it would be applied to the trail connector that is within the downtown Kendall Urban Center District.
and then can you add the
Mr.
part that needs to be?
Mr. Chair, your amendment would revise where the monies are coming from, and it would be from agreements, revenue sharing agreements for properties, county-owned or county-occupied properties that are also within the district. So the money's coming from
Perfectly
properties
fine.
within
That
the
was the-
district, and it would be applied to the trail connector that's also within the district.
All right,
So the maintenance and operation of the
Moved
trail.
as
connector.
amended, as amended.
100%, yes.
And it's been moved by the sponsoring commissioner, right? She is the sponsoring commissioner? Yes?
Yes.
And seconded by Commissioner, Senator Garcia. And clerk, I need a, is this
Before we take
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner, hold on,
an answer to the question of Commissioner Steinberg.
hold on. She did, and we just corrected it, right? Commissioner Steinberg? Yeah, we just we have a motion to accept both amendments. We haven't voted, but yes. So she had a real concern, and it was addressed right now in the amendment, but
It only applies to, okay.
to the,
doesn't
to
apply
the Kendall downtown, yes,
Only the
urban
Kendall
center.
downtown. Is that
All right,
correct?
Mr. Chairman,
point of order.
Point of
Commissioner
order.
Gilbert for a
then.
point of order.
And not to say that this is, it's a little confusing. Why wouldn't we just accept your amendment only if it does that? I mean, what does her amendment do extra? Why are we accepting two amendments to the same item with slightly different language? That's confusing.
Because, can I answer?
Yep, you may.
Because if the money goes to the downtown urban center, then the Underline and the Ludlam Trail and the Snapper are within the downtown urban center. And you specifically said that you didn't want the money going to the Underline, so we allocated it to the connector. If you wanted to go to the downtown urban center, there's 3 trails inside the downtown urban center.
Okay, but then why don't we just, my problem is that we're accepting 2 amendments. Why don't we just change the language, incorporate everything what we're saying here, and just have one
Which we
amendment?
did, that's what we did. That we
No,
said,
what we did was we're going to accept 2 amendments. That's what we did.
Well, to the attorneys, he has a point, and I understand. And I'm under the impression that her amendment was essentially my amendment with one little tweak, and by amending her amendment, like we're good on all fronts, but Commissioner Gilbert raises a different point. Is he correct in his?
Mr. Chair, you have narrowed Commissioner Regalado's amendment. It's all going to go into one change to the item.
Okay, and it takes care of what Commissioner Gilbert just pointed out?
The item will not include any funding for the underline as amended.
Okay. Commissioner Orbis.
I have a question because the Ludlam Trail keeps coming up. So to the attorneys, is the Ludlam Trail included in the Kendall Urban District?
Commissioner, the trail connector that's being spoken of, that the money would be allocated for, it does not connect to the Ludlam Trail. It connects just south of Southwest 80th.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, are we all within our discomfort? Are we all comfortable?
Yeah, one last, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Steinberg, you're recognized.
One last thing, I guess, to address the, because not about the revenue sharing, not about any of that. It does state in section 3 that for county-owned or county-occupied properties, including properties outside the boundaries of what we're discussing now, we're basically now letting the mayor
We amended
direct
that.
to pursue any and all efforts.
No,
So-
we amended section 3, that's what we amended.
But, hold on, yes. Not about the revenue sharing piece, about her getting the delegated authority to negotiate any sort of signage throughout our district on county-owned property without it first coming here. I just want clarity. That's all I want.
This is just for the Dadeland Urban Center.
The directive to the mayor to negotiate is for all properties countywide. If you would like to limit it to just within the downtown Condell Urban Center, we can remove the phrase that refers to properties outside of that center.
All right,
Happy to do it.
are we in good shape?
Yes.
All right, with that, I need a roll call on this. Yes?
Yes.
Amended.
With,
All right,
So we're gonna
Yes.
remove
clerk,
the
call the roll.
properties. That's gonna stay there. Okay.
Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Bermudez,
If it's what I understand, yes.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert. I'm sorry? Yes. Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Milian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastien,
Yes.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, can we move into public hearing items at this time?
yes, Mr. Chair. Item 5A is an ordinance related to the Naranja Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency, repealing Article C, Sections 2-1461 through 2-1470 of the code, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. 5B is a resolution declaring the Miami-Dade County Board of County Commissioners to be the Naranja Lakes Community Redevelopment Agency, accepting the transfer of and assuming all the rights, powers, duties, privileges, and immunities vested by the act in the agency and this board, subject to our responsibilities and liabilities imposed or incurred by the agency. Urging the mayor, mayor's designee to appoint appropriate staff, designating the county attorney's office as the legal counsel to the agency, and directing the mayor or mayor's designee to provide a report. 5C is a resolution finding and declaring a certain geographic area of the county, which is generally bounded by Southwest 57th Avenue to the east, Southwest 76th Street to the south, Southwest 62nd Avenue to the west, and Southwest 62nd Street to the north to be a slumber blighted area, and that the rehabilitation, conservation, or redevelopment, or a combination thereof of such area, including the development of housing, which residents of low or moderate income, including the elderly, can afford, is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, morals, or welfare of the residents of the city of South Miami and Miami-Dade County, finding a need for the creation of a community redevelopment agency and delegating certain community redevelopment powers to the city of South Miami. 5D is a resolution approving the plat of Royal Point Apartments. 5E is a resolution approving the plat of Sagard Gratney. Those are your public hearing items. And at the appropriate time, I do have requests to bifurcate items 5A and 5B by Commissioner Regalado.
All right, so Regalado, 5A and 5B, okay. And our vice chair. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open up public hearing at this time. When I call your name, please approach the well. You'll have a minute to speak, state your name and address, and the item you're speaking on. Neil Shiver, Alfonso Jackson, Derek Lordius, and Crypto Beaudry. Sir?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. My name is Neil Shiver. My address is 3095 Plaza Street, Miami, Florida, in the historic area of Coconut Grove. I stand here in opposition of item 5A, and in the alternative, I seek maybe a deferral, if possible, of this item until there's a good faith opportunity to reach a fair resolution for the residents of South Dade. I requested a meeting with the District 8 Commissioner, and I had the opportunity to meet with her staff, who clearly did not have the authority to discuss a resolution, so I have no choice but to appeal to this board. Prior to the appointment of the new board, at a time when the county ran the CRA, nothing got done. So why go back to those days? The then redevelopment plan didn't even have a definition of slum. The CRA was all but dormant for 2 to 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Shiver.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Good morning, sir. My name is Pastor Alfonso Jackson, Sr. I'm the senior pastor teacher of the Second Baptist Church, 11111 Pinkston Drive in Richmond Heights. We also have a campus in the Southland Mall Movie Theater, which actually puts me in both districts, 8 and 9. I was assigned to be a part of this wonderful, you asked me the item number, I believe it's 5A.
5A.
5A. And I was assigned to be a part of the governing board, the board for this project. And I found it to be very, very awesome working along with Mr. Shiver and other professionals that are on the board. I love the idea of having a part, a say-so in our own community and development. I've had a wonderful relationship with Ms. Cohen-Higgins. I work well with Commissioner McGee, and certainly this is some item that we would like to continue to work on. I believe that we can do a wonderful job collaboratively with the group that has been assigned. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pastor. Sir?
Greetings, Derek Lordius, 21449 Southwest 88th Avenue, Cutler Bay, Florida, 33189. I'm a board member of the Naranja Lakes CRA. When it comes to the decisions being made in a town like Naranja, who's experienced 105% growth since 2010, unincorporated areas like that can be overlooked when making decisions, so keep them in mind. People, it's downtown, it's Miami Beach, and then we skip over to the Keys. So, we want to make sure those areas are not forgotten when people come here. So when it comes to the residents and the intimacy of being able to come to the Naranja Lakes CRA board where they can get loans and homes improved. So just keep that in mind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Good morning. I'm John Beaudry, Chairman Beaudry at 1750 North Bay Shore Drive. And representing the community of technology industry professionals, specifically saying that for AI and AI agentic, we have a number of wonderful founders and technologies developed right here in Miami, and we meet a lot, and there's a lot of exciting developments that's going on. Obviously, you know that the growing AI phenomenon in the country and the world is having a big impact.
So what item are you speaking on?
5A, and basically,
No, you're not. 5A has nothing to do with AI or technology or nothing to do.
Yeah, as far as the agency services, this is what I've been put up to actually to offer, to say that, to think of a new way of actually providing more representation, more participation for actual citizens by utilizing the power of AI. A lot of gaps that or conflicts that we have of service that can be achieved can now be achieved with technology. And so I'm just here to bring that to the forefront. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right. With that, I have concluded all the public hearing folks that signed up to speak. So public hearing is now closed. We've got two bifurcations, 5A and 5B. So do I have a motion on the remainder? All right, the remainder have been moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, Commissioner, Vice Chair, you're recognized on 5A. Public hearing is closed. I heard someone say public hearing. Vice Chair, you're recognized on 5A and 5B if they're together. I'm not sure. Yep, I guess they are. So you're recognized on 5A and 5B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious as to the need for the item of 5A, and I would ask the sponsor to give us some insight as to why this item is needed.
Okay, so hold that response, sponsor. Commissioner Regalado, you also bifurcated it.
Yeah, I understand that there may be issues with the CRA. I would like to know from our attorneys when we have used this ordinance to undo CRAs. I'm concerned more for other CRAs. And I think that if we're going to change the makeup of the CRA, if this is exclusively about the CRAs and unincorporated, then I think we need to change the makeup of all of the CRAs and unincorporated. I don't think that we just go after one. I think that we should be consistent. That's the first thing. And I'm concerned about opening the door to undoing CRAs. I know that we've talked about board membership in CRAs in the past. That was brought up during the committee meeting. And I, as I said then, when I brought the South Miami one, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do in order to better tailor CRAs and ensure that they're doing what is a county priority. But I'm concerned about, and I would like to hear from the attorneys as to, have we ever used these vehicles? And then is this going to start a free-for-all? Can we now open up other CRAs? I know Keon's not here, but we got a lot of calls from Omni, from other CRAs about this item and what the impact could potentially be to other CRAs.
Attorneys are recognized.
To answer the first question, Commissioner Regalado, this is the first time that this board has taken the steps to undo a UMSA CRA. To answer the second question, I think it would be more difficult to undo a municipal CRA where the board is delegated to a municipality to create a CRA.
Have we ever done it for a municipality?
We have not that I'm aware of.
So we've never used a statutory vehicle?
That is correct.
Thank you. I think that taking on the makeup of the CRA might be a better first step. But I would like to hear from the sponsor as to why we're taking this particular action and how we can ensure that this does not hurt municipal CRAs and why we're not doing it for all the UMSA CRAs. Thank you.
Terrence, and I'll just ask you to clarify something. And I understand, I know the answer. So I'm asking as a somewhat clarification. You got to be very careful in the words you use. I understand what my colleague was asking because we're familiar with this. You said this is the first time we're undoing a CRA. We are not undoing any CRA. So can you please clarify, because it is important. Your words matter and people watch.
Sure. What you are doing is you're dissolving the special dependent district that is known as the Naranja Lakes, which is that was created under 163.356. The second item assumes designates this board as the Naranja Lakes CRA under a separate statute, which authorizes you as the governing body to take on the role of a CRA. So, although for all intents and purposes, the entity that is created under 163.356 of the Florida statute would go away. This board under 163.357 would then assume the role of the agency, and it will act as the CRA.
That's as I understood it. Thank you for that. Commissioner Bastien, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question. So since the CRAs the CRA is split between two districts, right, 8 and 9. Is it possible to have two CRAs? Has it been done before? And it has not, if it has not been done before, how can it be done legally? And then if you also know of if it's been done in the states of Florida, that would be helpful too. Thank you.
You may respond.
I'll start with the last question. I'm not aware of it being done in the state of Florida, but the mechanism for you to say, for example, because it's in two different districts, to reduce the boundaries of the CRA, so you'd have to first do that. Under the Florida statute, it allows you to the agency can make a recommendation to the board to reduce the boundaries of the CRA. So thus, if the agency made a recommendation to exclude one district's area from its boundaries, you could do that. And it's up to this board to approve a redevelopment plan that does that. After that, I think then, once it's shrunk, the board could consider the creation of a CRA in the area that is no longer part of the existing CRA.
Point of order.
Well, Commissioner Bastian still has the floor, but
I want to say that to the attorneys, the answer was yes.
Can be done.
It can be done. That was the answer.
Can be done. And then if it is yes, right? And thank you, Commissioner Gilbert. It is a yes. So if it is a yes, what would the process be?
That was the process.
that was the process.
That was
Everything
the
he just said. He should have started with yes, and then here's the process.
Here's the process.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, you're recognized for addressing all the.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my colleagues for the comments and the questions, and thank you for the interest in the item. I do want to make very, very clear that while I respect and understand the position or the articulation of the attorneys and the language that's being used, it is not my intention at all to undo the CRA. It is simply bringing the governing body back to the board because for whatever the reason, we as a body delegated that authority to unelected members of the community. In Miami-Dade County, we have a total of 16 CRAs. Out of the 16, only 4 of them are not governed by elected officials. And if you review the mayor's memo of January of this year, throughout her memo, she talks about CRAs and she goes over them and does an overview statewide. And she makes clear in her report that Naranja Lake CRA is a citizen-appointed board, as is 3 other CRAs in the county, but and I quote, a vast majority of CRA boards throughout the state of Florida match the existing municipality or county commission, meaning the elected officials for the municipality/county are the members of the CRA board. As a result, all municipal CRAs in the county follow this structure. So when there are concerns being expressed about what this will do to our municipal CRAs, there should be no concern. This is actually modeling the Naranja Lake CRA after municipal CRAs within Miami-Dade County. This is complementing our municipal CRAs in Miami-Dade County for the great work that they have done because the vast majority of them are all governed by the elected officials in those areas. So for example, Florida City, Homestead, Miami Midtown, Miami Omni, Miami Southwest Overtown Park, Miami Beach, City Center, Miami Beach, North Beach, Miami Gardens, North Miami Beach, Opa-locka, all CRAs within Miami-Dade County where the sum of money that is being collected from the tax incremental funding is being governed by the elected officials. And here with the Naranja Lake CRA, it is the largest CRA in Miami-Dade County by acreage. It's over 4,000 acres, and it's currently under review to add another 600 acres to this CRA with a total annual budget of $41 million. I am perplexed as to why we would delegate the authority to improve the slum and blight in that area to other individuals when I believe that we are perfectly capable of doing it here as a body. And while the question is, well, we should make this a countywide policy, I'm very sensitive to district commissioners and what they think is best for their community. So this is the CRA that is in my district, and so I'm bringing this as it pertains to my district. If the other commissioners that have unincorporated boards want to do the same thing, then I encourage them to bring that similar policy. But I am not going to encroach on other commissioners in other districts that may not have a similar viewpoint on this. I believe when we are dealing with such financial struggles in Miami-Dade County, and we have our community electing us to manage tax dollars to the tune of $41 million annually, we are the best representative voices of how those dollars should be spent. So this item is a complement to our municipal CRAs. It is a complement to, for example, the Miami Omni and the Miami Southeast Overtown and what they've been able to do in their community, all being governed by the elected officials of that area. And I do not understand why we would do it any different here. The Naranja Lake CRA has, gone dormant for years with no quorum, absolutely nothing being done. We don't have those issues here as a body at the BCC. Whatever slum and blight needs to be addressed will be addressed more efficiently, more publicly. The ability for the public to have input will always be available the same way the public has the ability and is encouraged to come and speak at all of our meetings. And from a policy decision, it is my firm belief that CRAs, especially with balances as large as $41 million of our residents' tax-paying dollars, those dollars should be distributed within those CRA boundaries by the people elected by our residents to govern those dollars. And so my item simply moves the governing body back to the BCC because I cannot understand a justification as to why we would delegate that authority to anyone other than ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to Commissioner Cohen-Higgins for that explanation. And thank you to some of the colleagues who've actually asked some of the questions that I actually had concerns with. But again, the Naranja Lake CRA is one that houses two commissioners, myself and Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. And not to get too deep into the weeds here, it is, in my humble opinion, a better approach that we've heard earlier as to why not just split the two. If the issue is really about the size, the quorum, and some of the issues that we've heard, then just split the two. I know in District 9 it's really about crime and poverty, and in that particular area is Naranja, and Naranja is one of the fastest growing areas. It also is the fastest growing area as it relates to some of the crime. So if this is what it's really about, then leave the board that's actually doing the work now, that has established precedent as it relates to getting things done, leave that in place. Secondly, we talk about undue burdens. What we're essentially asking is asking folk from the Naranja community to drive here to be part of a meeting. We're essentially asking that this board have another meeting about the CRAs. That's what we're asking with this piece of legislation. And third, this is what I believe to be true. On its face, it does appear that the folk who are sitting on the Naranja Lake CRA are just folk who are just off the streets with no experience. On its face, it does look like that, right? But if we really understand how they got to the board, we really now get a greater appreciation. Each member on that Naranja Lake CRA is there because either District 8 or District 9 appointed that person to the board. Let me clarify that. That means either the commissioner from District 8 made a motion, put the item in to have this person investigated by the departments, and then made a recommendation to have that person appointed to the actual board. So these are not just people who are just walking off the streets into a board to control the amount of money to help deal with slum and blight and poverty in those areas. These are individuals who were hand-selected, hand-picked by the actual commissioners of those districts. And in this particular case, in Naranja Lakes, you have 2 commissioners who have chosen the entire board. Now, I'm not here to have a fight about whether or not this is really about the money or this is really about control. But what I am dealing with is the pure facts. There has yet to be any allegations of fraud. There has yet to be any allegations of misrepresentation. We do know this Naranja Lake CRA has gone through countless audits, and it continuously goes through audits. We do know they have put forth one of the great CRA chairs and executive directors to deal with the issues. And we do know for a fact, and if the administration can help me clarify this, that they don't have an issue with quorum. They have been meeting regularly. As a matter of fact, both commissioner offices go to those meetings regularly, and they are reported back to exactly what happened. And we also have the administration representation in those meetings. So again, I'm not here to fight or pick one side or pit one side against the other. I'm here looking for a solution. And I do believe the solution here could be 2 ways. One, we can actually, again, as we heard from the county attorney, we can actually separate the 2. We can have 2 separate CRAs. Number 2, another option is if it's really the concern that people who we appoint, we selected to put on the board, if they are the concern, then I suggest maybe the 2 commissioners who share the CRA, that those 2 sit on the actual board themselves and work with the community leaders who are actually down in the Naranja area, and that way it keeps it there, but also gives an oversight by the 2 commissioners who oversee those areas. Another thing too is, I heard the question about the amount of money that area needs to deal with poverty, slum, and blight. Well, one of the things we can do is, we can actually reduce the TIF contribution. Right now, I believe the TIF contribution from the administration, if you can clarify, what is the TIF contribution to the Naranja Lake CRA?
Good morning, Commissioner. George Fernandez, Office of Management and Budget. Right now, the TIF contribution from the Naranja Lake CRA is set at 95%.
Okay. And so one of the questions I'll put to the sponsor, if the concern is about the amount of money that is going towards that particular area to eradicate poverty, slum, and blight and crime, then one of the solutions I would put forth is, why not move that number from 95% and move that number down to 75%? That in turn give the county an additional 20%, and we can use that additional 20% to go to the bus rapid system that we have in the place to help offset some of the headaches that people are doing in that community or experiencing that community as it relates to traffic. That's one solution. The other solution, I've already put it on the record. Why not simply say that we go ahead, defer this item, allow the county attorney to come up with legislation to bifurcate the 2 districts, and everybody will be a happy camper in that particular situation. I think that right there would give us a win-win for everyone, but at the same time address the poverty, the crime, and the slum and blight that's currently located in the district. Oh, Commissioner Gilbert.
Just a note, I was unclear about it, but I think that to bifurcate them, we actually have to dissolve them. And we at the end 1 and then create 2. I mean, so just so we're clear as we travel down the road of discussing bifurcation, inherent in bifurcation is actual dissolution, not just changing the governing board. That means a new finding of necessity, slum and blight, the entire process. So it sounds like it's something that's interesting, but before we invest a whole bunch of bandwidth on that, let's make sure that we understand what that really means to do. We're dissolving the CRA. And to me, that's an owner's tax. I didn't think it was 95%, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'm still very comfortable spending that money in the area because the area has been neglected for so long. I'm not asking for a reduction in the amount of money, and I don't read this item as reducing the amount of money. I read this item as affecting who makes the decisions, the ultimate decisions. So that's how I read the item. But I just want us to be clear, if you say we're going to split it, we have to kill it. And then reform it again, and that will take time.
Vice Chair and then Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert, for that. To the county attorney, I thought maybe I overheard or misheard what you put on the record as to what this item is doing and how would separating these two districts within the CRA area now, how would that happen? Maybe I overheard or misheard. Can you clarify that for me?
On the bifurcation or the dividing of the CRA, the process that I came up with is the statute allows for you to reduce the boundaries of the CRA after a recommendation from the agency to modify its community redevelopment plan to shrink the boundaries of the CRA. Once that is done and it's no longer within the existing boundaries of the CRA as it either exists today, or if the board adopts the ordinance and the resolution as it would exist under this board, then this board could consider creating a new CRA, and as Commissioner Gilbert said, you would need to do another finding of necessity study. You would have to create another trust fund. You would have to approve a new redevelopment plan that encompasses that area, but it can't be done today. It's a much longer process to get there.
Vice Chairman, it's also, I mean, I'm looking at the CRA, and I guess maybe this is a function of how this board actually drew the districts. Your districts are so intertwined in like a very strange way. This CRA, to split it, it might be complicated looking at the district, but even if you could and you wanted to do that, also consider that a finding of necessity for Slum and Blight for the entire area might not exist for discrete portions of the area. So it might exist for this portion, but not this portion, or this portion. So it's not as clean as us wanting to do it and just doing it. It's going to require more than that. So I just wanted us in a former life, I was a CRA attorney. So yeah, it would just.
All right. Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. I don't think splitting it is going to solve our issue. I appreciate the drafting commissioner's point about respecting jurisdictions. My concern is the precedent that we're setting. So this is the first time that we're using this statute. The reasoning that is now in the legislative record for taking this step is because of the lack of elected representation. If that is the case, we should do it for all of the CRAs that are in unincorporated Miami-Dade. And this is our opportunity to have that conversation with the folks that are here, because you can't do it for one and then not do it for the others. If you're saying that the reason that we're doing this is because the representation is inadequate, and we want the Board of County Commissioners to represent CRAs in unincorporated Miami-Dade because you're emulating the municipal model, then we should do it for all CRAs. If not, why are we specifically picking out Naranja? Is it because of the amount of money in Naranja? Are the other CRAs smaller? What is the legal justification other than geography? And this includes 2 county commission districts, right? Other than geography, what is the rationale? So I think we, at a minimum, have to be consistent. And then also, as Commissioner McGee pointed out, okay, when are we going to meet on these CRAs? I'm fine. I'll pack my lunch. We'll have another meeting. We'll do CRAs. Totally cool with it. But But that's another conversation we need to have. Now, when are we going to have that? Are we going to do that as part of our regular BCC meetings? Are we going to tack it on? Are we going to, this CRA has an administrative piece. Are we going to keep that administrative piece? Is it going to be done by the office that we were created under the chair? Are we going to create something else? There's a lot of logistical things associated with us now taking on a CRA, and I don't find those things in the item. So I think I'm happy to support I'm happy to support it. If the issue is about representation, then we got to do it for everybody. We don't just get to cherry pick. And then we all have to be comfortable with it, because I would assume at some point, you know, we're going to get sued on this because it is the first time that we're doing it. So I just want us to be clear, right? What exactly are we doing and why? And let's just do it across the board. And if that's what we want to do, then so be it. But let's have some clarity and figure out what the logistics is of this board now taking on CRAs. I'm happy to do it, but we have challenges with quorum on our current, you know, priorities and obligations. So, but I don't think splitting it, I don't think this is about creating, you know, little things. And the other thing is, you know, for those of us that were here during redistricting, our districts are going to change again. So there is a whole other thing that happens here with districts and CRAs. So these districts are going to change again. They're going to change. They change every 10 years. They're going to change again. The South, again, is going to change because there's been a tremendous amount of development in the South, and the population in the South is actually at this point above the numbers that those districts are supposed to have. So we know that the districts are going to change dramatically in 9 and 8 because of the development that we've had over the last 8 years. So let's not use geography, I think, as a legal reason, because I think that's going to dramatically change in a few years, and those census numbers bear that out. So to the attorneys, what other CRAs are we talking about in unincorporated Miami-Dade?
All right. Was there a question in there, or to the attorney?
That's the question. What are the other CRAs in unincorporated Miami-Dade?
You can respond.
They include Northwest 7th Avenue Corridor, CRA, Northwest 79th Street Corridor, CRA. Why am I drawing a blank? And the West Perrine CRA. There was another one that was created by the board, the Gould CRA, but that CRA has not been constituted because this board has not appointed its members.
Terrence, you that wasn't the question.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, he said those are the three. So what are the governing, what districts are those in, and what are the governing entities of those three? We only have three more.
The governing bodies of the UMSA CRAs, excluding the Gould CRA that doesn't have members, are the members who are appointed by this board.
All right, and what district are these three CRAs in?
District 2. Gould's is in District 9. West Perrine is in District 9.
All right, Commissioner Gilbert, you have unreadiness with the answer?
Yeah, so we were here trying to track the actual rationale, because I think we might have deviated from the item to a larger, so I need to know where we're going with this, because I don't necessarily accept that if we do this, we have to do every CRA, and I think that's what we're arguing now. That's the point that's trying to be proved, and we're trying to prove that up. That's fine, but I don't read this item as doing that. And so I think that we may have deviated, and I just needed clarification, I guess, from the chair, or to make, what are we actually debating right now?
Correct, and I agree, Commissioner Gilbert. So let's stay on topic.
But Mr. Chair,
You still have the floor,
Yeah,
but let's get on the item itself.
Yeah, well, I'm proposing consistency. That's all I'm proposing. Because I think if we're going to use a statute to unravel a CRA, even if we're recreating it, we're still unraveling it to recreate it. If we're going to do that, we should be consistent. Because if the policy concern is representation, that is true for this CRA and the other three CRAs. Because as the attorney just pointed out, the other three CRAs are represented by people who were appointed by the commissioners in that district, which we just said is the policy reason to undo this one, because we want the CRAs to be represented by the Board of County Commissioners. So
I agree, Commissioner. If you bring an item, I will support that item. I agree. It should be across the board. Feel free to put the hold. I mean, you do it plenty of times. Just put the hold, bring the item.
but I want to hear from the commissioners in that district. I mean, and again, I mean, I don't understand why we can't amend this item and do it.
Commissioner, that's not what the sponsor of the item would like to do, but you could propose an amendment. Commissioner Bastien and then Bermudez.
Thank you, Commissioner Regalado, for your ideas and suggestions. And as the commissioner for 2 CRAs in AMSA, I repeat, I totally oppose having the Board of County Commissioners making decisions for the CRAs in my district. Totally oppose. Because for the CRAs to have the authority to eliminate slum and blight, stability and clarity are important. It is a must. It is a must. I nominate the members of the CRAs. They have the power to make decisions about economic development and how to do away with slum and blight in their neighborhoods. They know best what they need, what they need in their neighborhoods. So I'm not going to remove that authority, because doing so will bring us back to where we were before, where nothing was being done. Members of the community know best what they want, and they have the capacity, and then we elect them because yes, District 3, of course. The commissioner for District 3 is not here, and we do share on one of the CRAs. So I totally oppose that, totally. I will not support any item removing the power from the members who we nominated because we believe in their power to make their own decisions, because, after all, they know what's best for their neighborhoods, because they live there days in and days out, and they know what's best.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
Yeah. First of all, I think there's good intent from both of the commissioners that are impacted by this particular CRA. And I'm not going to call it naranja, I'm going to call it naranja. But, because that's the way it should be pronounced. But anyways, the bottom line is, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And if you are going to do something, and it's public policy, it should be as fair across the board to everybody across the county. And the other thing that I will say is, absolutely, there is going to be redistricting. It may not just impact this district, these 2 districts. It might impact many others. But I'm going to ask the question that I've been wanting to get an answer to from staff, if I may, Mr. Chair. What's the breakdown of this CRA? How many does Commissioner Cohen-Higgins appoint? How many does Commissioner McGee appoint? I'd like to know, because maybe there's a way to resolve this without having to, it might be much ado about nothing. So who appoints who?
You may respond. Yeah, anyone.
Through the chair, do you want to hear from staff?
Whoever has the right answer. All right, you may get involved, yeah. And again, the question is just on the board appointees, not so much on the geographic area or this or that, right?
Commissioner, as of now, there are 6 appointees from District 9 and 3 from District 8, for a total of 9 members.
But is that a requirement that it's 6 and 3, or is that just the way it ended up being, out of curiosity?
To my knowledge, there is no requirement. I can tell you, past practice, commissioners have worked together and appointed the members. So if a majority of the CRAs in one district, usually that commissioner would appoint the majority of members.
may I ask another question to staff?
You may, you've got the floor.
Yeah, if this may not be for you, George, might be for the attorneys. So hypothetically, in a CRA of this type shared by 2 or more commissioners, would there be the possibility of even numbers for each commissioner and then the county commission appointing the final, let's call it nominee? Because I understand what Commissioner Bastien says. You don't want to take away from the individuals that live in that area the ability to participate. And by the way, I point out that you can always remove them, and try to, but my question to the attorney would be, is that a possibility of reconstituting the makeup of a CRA where there's a structure hypothetically along those lines?
Under the statute, the board makes the appointments, and then the process for nominating those members was, as George said, was established by the commissioners working together. So they would bring an item to this board, but under the statute.
So to clarify, because I know where he's going, so I'm trying to just speed up the meeting here, because this is like the first item. So, I mean, it's serious. So can it be changed? Can it be changed to where it's like equal appointees from each sitting commissioner?
Yes, that could be the policy.
By policy of this board? Okay, all right, so is that?
Yeah, I think that's, I'm assuming that this whole decision was made based on geographics or whatever, the makeup at that time, whenever the CRA was created. But yeah, that's my question. If it can or cannot be changed, the answer is yes. And I mean, look, again, to me, I believe that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. I also agree, and I feel there are some people here from, and I don't know the representatives from Naranja Lakes, but when you give people in the community, when they're involved, they should know, they're vested in it, and if there's a Solomonic solution, I would like to get to it, but if there isn't, then we'll vote and move along.
All right, Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to backtrack a little bit to the concept that we have to do something across the board, the Florida legislature can't make special laws as they apply to Miami-Dade County. They try to find cute ways around it, but that's the prohibition. The reason why is because we can. We can. We literally are charged with looking at specific areas and doing what's required for that specific area. Literally, that is our charge. And if we're going to go down, and I can be amenable to having policies that are across the board, this is what fairness looks like, but that means that we have to expand the metro rail to my district right now. That means we have to actually stop funding the underline like it's a private park for rich people. This is absolute nonsense that you all are making that argument after we just got finished talking about the underline. I have no, seriously right now. We're going to do the same thing for everybody. We live in a county of absolute inequities. That's why I said no, keep the 95%. Regardless of who governs it, keep the 95%. Because the area has been neglected for decades. Not just years, decades. For decades, the disparate parts of this county have been neglected. And so having money that's just dedicated to an area, I'm okay with that. Because we're remedying past mistakes, past inequities. And that's not just going to be his area, it's not going to be my area, it's going to be the areas out west. We have centralized what we do in a very specific way. And they didn't anticipate places like Doral incorporating and doing fabulous under UJC. They didn't anticipate places like Miami Gardens. They didn't anticipate Hialeah stepping up, but that's what had to happen. That's why our city's incorporated. Our city's incorporated because of the disparities. That's why they incorporated. So I think the money should stay the same. And no, I don't think that we have to treat everybody equally because we didn't start off that way. If we had started off that way, we could continue it, but we did not start that way. So no, I don't think we can do that. If we're going to be honest about this situation, it's easier when a CRA is in the commission district where it's just one person, one district. It's easier. We're here because we are deferential to our colleagues about their districts. And in this instance, we have two colleagues who don't necessarily agree on something that works. When we have two colleagues that don't agree on something that works, what we do is bring it back to the whole. That's the proposal. Just put simply, that's the proposal. I would have preferred, I said this at another meeting, for them to be able to figure it out. But if they can't figure it out, we should. We're talking about this because it's an uncomfortable vote because we have to choose between our brothers and a sister. But nothing we say is going to make it easier. Let's vote.
All right, I'm ready to call a vote, but I got Commissioner Bastian and Bermudez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I so agree with you, Commissioner Gilbert. I concur with every word that you just said. And sometimes, you know what my dream is, our colleagues, is to, and then I think I've invited a couple of you to drive through District 2. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed about the slum and blight. You'll be amazed. And then sometimes when I drive, you know, the districts, and I say, wow, I wish. And I agree with Commissioner Gilbert, and I understand Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, and I understand the issues that you are facing, Vice Chair McGee, but we cannot use these problems to have and have this problem impact all the other districts. District 2 and District 3 work perfectly well. Our CRAs work perfectly well. We cannot allow whatever is going on in 8 and 9 to impact our districts in a negative way. We cannot, because after all, a lot of my district personally has been under-resourced and for so long. And my invitation is still on the table for those of you who would want to drive and see with your own eyes. I think it's important. So some of these districts, they do need their CRAs. They do need that to eliminate slum and blight. And like I said recently at a combined meeting of all the CRAs in my district, I said that a strong District 2, a strong District 3, 8, 9 is good for Miami-Dade County, because after all, we always talk about, the amount of money, that the CRAs have. But what we fail to understand sometimes is that today's investment, when we invest in improving these neighborhoods, after the CRA sunset, all these reinvestments remain for Miami-Dade County. And we oftentimes fail to understand that. So Miami-Dade County is strong as long as all the districts are strong, thriving, and resilient. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bermudez, you recognize?
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Gilbert on leaving the dollars there. I don't think that's an issue for anyone. And I think that regardless of what district we represent, we all care about all of Miami-Dade County, which is the reason why, in part, we are here today having this discussion. I think that the reason why my main issue with CRAs, all of CRAs, by the way, is accountability. That in the long term is the most important thing, I believe. But look, it's difficult to make a decision because both of our colleagues, I think, are well-intended. I mean, truthfully. Commissioner Gilbert used the D word, defer, to give them one more month to hopefully, if there's any possibility, you said maybe, that we could consider a motion to defer. So what I'm going to do is going to proffer a motion to defer and see if there's support for it. And look, I'm not asking Commissioner Cohen Higgins to remove any of what she's advocating for. Nor am I asking Commissioner McGee to not stand on whatever his thought process is. But I think something as serious as this would be wise to have them, I'm going to use the favorite word besides workshop for Commissioner Regalado, sunshine. So, they can have a sunshine meeting, and if anybody wants to express themselves, and then I think, because I've still, even with all this discussion, that's why I asked the questions I asked today of the attorney's office. How did we get here? Which I have kind of an idea, but if there's a way that we could make sure that both of the well-intended individuals that are colleagues can resolve it. So I'm going to make a motion to defer. I don't know if anybody's going to second or if it carries.
Second it.
Second it.
I'll second it.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. The deferral takes precedence. All right, so we have a motion to defer, a second. All in favor of the deferral signify by saying aye.
On the deferral,
On the deferral, you want to discuss?
let's be clear on the deferral. I didn't recommend deferral. I said I recommended them to talk about it before they couldn't. They couldn't solve it among themselves. If this body's wish to defer, that's fine, but that's not what wasn't my recommendation. I just want to be clear about that.
I got you.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you.
on the deferral, all in favor of the deferral signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Nay. All right. The ayes sounded like they had it, but the ayes had it. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Nay. All right. Can you call the vote on it, please?
Commissioner Cohen Higgins. Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Milian Orbis. Commissioner Regalado.
4.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Commissioner Bermudez. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote no. It passes.
I have 6-6.
6-6, so the item, we're back on the item. All right, so we have so then we're going back to the original motion.
There was an original motion?
Yeah, there's a motion to move the item and a second, and we're back on it, so we'll still discuss it more. Commissioner Gilbert.
I was going to say that, listen, we're here now. It's 11:08. It's first item.
It's the first item.
This is a sunshine meeting. If they can work it out, let's work it out now. Let's just do it.
I got all day.
We're all here. Let's do it.
All right, Vice Chairman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, Mickey, you had something you...
No, I was just going to explain that I thought that we needed a little bit more direction if there was going to be a deferral, because I don't think just deferring it for the sake of deferring was going to get us anywhere. So if we want to give any sort of recommendation so that they have something to actually legitimately discuss, then that's fine. Or we can just move forward with the items that are in front of us as is. Thank you.
All right, so Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, look, at the end of the day, this is what this board does, right? We make decisions. And when we make decisions, we make it in the best interest of the people. Now, I've heard and I sat here and listened that having this board, this entire board, make the recommendations for that poverty-infected area down south that has heavy poverty and crime and slum and blight, is to ask this entire board to make that decision. The problem is, if this entire board makes the decision for the people down there, how then will they know about the issues from the people down there? That's why it's important that the two commissioners, in my humble opinion, if there's going to be a reconstitution of the board or what other solution, that the two district commissioners sit on that board, replace two of the current members, so therefore the issues that are facing that area remain in that area with people who understand the issue, but also with a voting bloc of people who can get things done and move it. What we've been able to see thus far is that even on the issue of quorum, there's not an issue. Even of the issue of whether or not we're talking about the amount of money that CRA is actually dealing with, that's not an issue because that all depends on whether or not we expand and extend. But as it relates to the current situation now that we're listening to and we're hearing, this is all about us finding a way to eradicate poverty. And right now, this issue should stay with the community and add the 2 commissioners to the board. I think that's the easiest way, and if that doesn't work, then we come back and readdress it, but at least we have a conversation. And secondly, the next conversation we should be having is, I don't mind pulling to the side right now and having a conversation with the commissioner from District 8. I don't. We can do that. I'm okay with that. As a matter of fact, the conversation should have happened. It can happen now, or it can happen down the road. But at the end of the day, the people that we appointed, selected, should be the people, along with the 2 county commissioners, to make the decisions of the area of Naranja. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. All right, so to the sponsoring commission, do you just like me to call a question, or? All right, so clerk, please call the roll on the motion to move the item 5A and 5B by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. Clerk.
And Mr. Chair, for clarification, this is only for the language in 5A and 5B. This is not, we're not accepting any amendments. This is not for any other CRAs anywhere in Miami-Dade County. Is that correct?
That is correct. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Milian Orbis. Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
I vote yes.
Vice Chairman McGee.
No.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 8-4.
All right, moving on to the rest of our agenda. All right, Madam Attorney, or is it, is it good to go to second reading at this time?
Yes.
Mr.
Okay, let's read second reading item 7A and 7C.
Yes, sir. 7A is an ordinance relating to the Building Better Community Citizens Advisory Committee, amending sections 2-1801, 2-1802, 2-1803, and 2-1805 of the code, removing language referencing the county manager, and updating language pertaining to committee member attendance, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And 7C is an ordinance relating to the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust and the People's Transportation Plan, amending by a 2/3 vote of the commission membership sections 2-1421 and 2924 of the code, revising membership and appointment process and term of office for the CITT, revising procedures for amendments to the 5-year implementation plan, clarifying the powers and duties of the CITT, revising the deadline by when the CITT shall annually present the 5-year implementation plan update to the board, revising certain requirements relating to the board's rejection of the CITT's recommendations, providing that the board may reject the CITT's recommendations under certain circumstances, revising provisions relating to the term of office for CITT members appointed by county commissioners, and providing for expiration of such terms for existing members, providing for county commissioners to make appointments or reappointments to fill vacancies, making technical and conforming changes, providing severability, inclusion in, and exclusion from the code, and an effective date. And Mr. Chair, I have a request to bifurcate 7C by you.
Okay, so on 7A, can I have a motion to,
I'm going to bifurcate 7B. Are we taking one by one?
yeah, 7B I'm not taking up right now. That's why I only had to read 7A and 7C.
Happy to move 7A.
All right, so it's been moved by Commissioner Regalado, seconded by Commissioner Bermudez. Clerk, please call the roll on 7A.
Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez.
4.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Milian Orbis. Commissioner Regalado. Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Yes. Commissioner Bermudez. Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Senator Garcia. Vice Chairman McGee.
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, on 7C, If the attorney can read the amendment that I'm offering to the sponsoring commissioner to see if he's okay with it. It is, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a technical amendment, but it's very minor in nature. And I think it still is in line with your, with what you're doing. If you can read it, and I've passed it out, I believe.
Chairman Rodriguez moves to amend item 7C to replace the proposed language regarding policy positions by the trust to instead state that provided that the Board of County Commissioners has taken a policy position on a matter, the trust may urge, recommend, or present a policy position to any entity other than the Board of County Commissioners, so long as the policy position is consistent with the stated policy position of the Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioner Gilbert.
I'll accept the amendment.
All right, show the item moved by the sponsoring commissioner as amended, seconded by Commissioner Regalado. Clerk, do I need a roll call on this? Yes, right? Clerk, please, any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Hardiman, Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Milian Orbis, Commissioner Regalado, Commissioner Steinberg, Commissioner Bastien,
Yes.
Commissioner Bermudez, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins,
4.
Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert,
Oh, yes.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
And I'm going to call up 7B now, if the attorney can read it. But beforehand, Commissioner Gilbert, this is your last item that we just passed. Congratulations on that. That is a perfect example of what committee is supposed to be. It's working out with all parties that, to Commissioner Regalado's point earlier of my motion on the airport stuff, is all stakeholders came to the table, you worked with them, and everybody got to either a comfortable or uncomfortable place, but everybody ultimately agreed. So thank you for that. With that, Mr. or Madam Attorney, if you could read 7B, our last second reading item.
Yes, 7B is an ordinance relating to the Office of Inspector General, amending Section 2-1076 of the Code relating to minimum qualifications, term of office, contract, and selection committee for the Inspector General, providing severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date. And Commissioner Regalado requested to be heard.
Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized. Well, actually, let's do it officially. Commissioner Gilbert, you move the item. Seconded by Senator Garcia. Commissioner Regalado, you're recognized.
I spoke at length about this in committee. I'm not going to rehash that. I continue in disagreement with the item. I think that we are harming the office of the OIG. I think we have an auditor, we have a commission auditor, we have a lot of the things that are in here. And I think that history will say that this was wrong, so I'm voting against it. Thank you.
All right, with that, we have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no further, Commissioner Bermudez, you're recognized.
I just want to say why I'm going to vote no. I commend the maker of the item for some of the changes that he's made with good intent, but I just believe that truthfully, in the long run, if we talk about transparency, you gotta talk the talk. If you're gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. And in the long run, I believe that anything that any time that we're trying to impact something that can be seen, and rightfully so, as changing rules that do make logical sense, and particularly the portion, and I thank Commissioner Gilbert for making changes, but I still have to respectfully disagree on some of the requirements that were changed, specifically the aspect of, and I don't agree necessarily, if there's going to be a defense lawyers group in it, there should be a prosecutors group in it. It shouldn't be something that should be necessarily slanted to one side or the other, because every time that we change these rules slanted toward investigating ourselves and others, it can give the impression that we're trying to change the rules for our benefit. I'm not saying that's the case, by the way, Commissioner Gilbert, and I applaud you for taking on a tough topic.
Commissioner,
but I respectfully have to vote no.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think that this is one that merits debate. So I do appreciate Commissioner Regalado and her comments. I appreciate Commissioner Bermudez and his comments. I watched the entire video on the debate at committee. And I will say that when I first saw this item, to Commissioner Gilbert, I was opposed when I first saw this item. I'm not saying that I'm 100% there now, but I've read the item. And I want to start off by clarifying some points. And I think that the point that needs to be clarified the most is that our deliberation of this item today and in the past should not be interpreted, in my opinion, and I don't speak for my colleagues, but in my opinion, I don't think it should be interpreted as a dissatisfaction with the excellent work of our current Inspector General, Felix Jimenez. I think he's done a stand-up job. On the contrary, in the few times that at least I have sat down with Mr. Jimenez, he has demonstrated that he's a true professional and a dedicated public servant. Mr. Jimenez, I don't know if you're here today, but I want to thank you for your service now and for your ongoing service to the residents of Miami-Dade County. Now, as I understand it, the item before us today is going to do two things. And I do seek some clarification from the moving commissioner, but first, it seems like it's going to add minimum qualifications. It's going to allow the selection committee to choose someone with experience in accounting and auditing. I've had some conversations with folks that are in law enforcement, and as I understand it, these are traits that would be warranted in a position like this. And many times when investigations are occurring, sometimes you bring outside sources into some of these investigations, specifically with accounting and auditing. So it makes sense, given the nature of the Inspector General's job of investigating waste, fraud, and abuse. I think I'm okay with that. Now, second, it adds additional members to the selection committee, none of which are subject to oversight by the Inspector General, ensuring the necessary independence of the office. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Now, to the sponsor of the item or to the attorneys, is it safe to say that prior to today's item, it has always been a requirement that the individual recommended by the selection committee to serve as Inspector General, has it always been a requirement that they have a law enforcement background, either as a law enforcement officer, judge, or attorney?
May respond to the attorneys. To the attorneys.
Yes. One of the requirements is that they have at least 10 years of experience in one or combination of the following fields, one of which was a federal, state, or local law enforcement officer.
So just to clarify, this item is not going to remove law enforcement experience as a possible qualification. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So it merely adds experience as an Inspector General, certified public accountant, and or auditor as an additional or an alternative. Is that correct?
Yes.
To the attorneys, once the selection committee recommends an individual for the office of Inspector General, who determines whether that individual is approved or denied to serve in the role as Inspector General?
This board.
This Board of County Commissioners.
Yes.
So is it safe to say that if this current board or a future board, because it could be a future board, determined that it would be in the best interest of this county to have someone with law enforcement experience serve as Inspector General, it could reject a recommendation from the selection committee recommending someone who lacks such experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, given these points of clarification, it seems to me that this item merely expands the pool of individuals that can become Inspector General. Is that correct? I don't know if this is
No, yes, it
probably
is.
better for the maker of the item.
That's exactly what it does. Through the chair, yes, that's exactly what it does. Thank you for your questions and your comments, because Commissioner, and if I may through the chair, this item has been a bit confusing in how it's been received, because I think sometimes in politics everyone's looking for palace intrigue, and they're looking for undertones of like personal animus. I don't know the Inspector General to dislike him. I don't get that. This is not about this Inspector General. When I was chair, he sent a letter to the office requesting his reappointment. We took a look at the ordinance, and I disagreed with some things that was in it. We didn't make up any of the requirements. And this is why I guess this has been so confusing, because we modeled it after the Association of Inspector Generals. We modeled it after their requirements and left the law enforcement component. That's what we did. I read the Inspector General's memo regarding the things that his observations of the item. And what I thought was particularly interesting was the Inspector General took issue with being a member of the Florida Bar as substitute for 5 years of experience. Now, I thought that was interesting because you can be a county court judge, a circuit court judge, the state attorney, the statewide prosecutor, and the attorney general with 5 years on the Florida Bar. Literally, just to put it succinctly, you could deprive individuals of their liberty through prosecution. You could preside over felony trials. You could interpret and apply constitutional rights. You could exercise statewide prosecutorial authority. And you could serve as the chief legal officer of the state of Florida. That was the complaint. That was the complaint. The complaint was that. The complaint was that this does something that it really just doesn't do. It expands the pool. That's not saying that we have to hire someone. It gives other people the opportunity to actually apply in the disciplines that actually matter. They can now apply. We went through, and if you all watched committee, you'd have seen it, but we went through all the Inspector Generals in the state of Florida. We could find no other Inspector General that required law enforcement experience. It was literally just us. So I've got to see the cute tweets and blogs and all of that stuff. That's great, but this brings us into line with what the Inspector General Association says the requirements should be. To Commissioner Bermudez, I would be happy to, if you wanted to add an association of prosecutors, but the state attorney's on there. And the state attorney is the prosecutor. We had the private defense attorneys, because people can have a private defense attorney or the public defender. They're both on there. She was the balance. What we did was bring a bigger pool and broaden the qualifications and didn't remove any of the other qualifications. This is not meant to target anyone. This brings us in line with what everyone else is doing. And then let me add this one thing. Listen, the Inspector General's office, I think, does do a good job. I have no quarrel with the job they're doing in most respects. I think what they do, they're doing. But the Inspector General in Miami-Dade County has the authority to do a lot more, y'all. So when Commissioner Cohen-Higgins talks about us getting procurements late or in the last minute and it costing us money, those are things the Inspector General can actually weigh in on that have really a dollar and cents type effect on Miami-Dade County residents and how we do business. I would suggest that someone, if they were applying with 20 years in public administration experience and and was a lawyer and knew about procurement and knew about processes, I would suggest that maybe that would be appropriate. Do I think that someone with law enforcement experience should always be employed, or we should always have that capacity in the Inspector General's office? Yeah, I think we should. Do I think they have to be the Inspector General? No, I don't think they do. And I say that as a former prosecutor. We have this idea that we think they prosecute cases, they run the investigations. They don't. They see something they disagree with, they think it might be illegal, they call public corruption in the state attorney's office. That's what they do. The state attorney's office runs the investigation. I get that folks believe that the system that created them should always be the system that's in place. We call that homosocial reproduction. If we believe we're successful, we believe that we're how success looks, and we believe that however we got created, that we should leave that in place. I don't think that's true. I think that we can have competent, extraordinary applicants from a broad range. They can go through a well-rounded selection committee, and this board can make a competent decision. And then let me just address something besides the merits of this. One of the things that's gone on over the last couple of weeks, and you know, I heard this rumor came from the Inspector General, but I don't know that it did, so I didn't hear that he said this. I never want to be the Inspector General. I'm a public official. I'll take the rumor as it is. Whoever decided to say it, I'll take it as it is. Teresa Theralis, the city manager of North Miami, doesn't want to be the Inspector General either. When you put somebody's name out there like that, you affect their professional lives. You should be careful. That is reckless and irresponsible. I don't know anybody who wants to be the Inspector General. I'm not doing this for anyone. Would she be qualified? Yes, I think she would. Yes, I would too. I have no desire. She's no desire. Saying that, imprinting that, doesn't affect me at all, but it has the possibility of affecting folks' employment, y'all. So when people say stuff like that, and they act recklessly like that, it makes me wonder, why would you do that? This has moved so far beyond the debate on bringing our ordinance into conformance with the model that they post on their website. Like, all you got to do is go to their website. That's all you have to do. This has gone so far beyond researching the fact that we're doing the stuff that the state of Florida does in the statute that applies to every other Inspector General in the state of Florida. I'm not recreating a wheel. I'm making our wheel look like the other four wheels on the car. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Regalado?
Thank you. I appreciate those arguments, and like I said in committee, I will say this. Miami-Dade County isn't like the other counties. It has never been like the other counties, and I hope that one day we will be more like some other counties. But there's a reason why the requirement for the Inspector General to have law enforcement experience was there, and that reason has not dissipated. We had a county commissioner who sat on this dais arrested in 2022. This is not something from 30 years ago or 40 years ago or 50 years ago. So I maintain that should be a requirement, and I agree with the term limits. I agree with the other changes. I'm glad we made them, but that's a requirement for a reason, and I'm going to vote no for that reason.
Thank you.
Just to clarify a point,
You're recognized.
we are not, like, we like to think of our exceptionalism in good ways and bad ways. People get arrested everywhere, y'all. Not just in Miami-Dade County. What is that crap? No. Miami-Dade County, that makes it sound like, oh, we're just such criminals. No, absolutely, I reject that. I reject that. I heard it in committee, and I didn't push back forcefully enough. I should have. If you want, we can pull a list of the public officials across the state of Florida in those other places that also have inspector generals that actually have been arrested. But more to the point, when you go to the state of Florida and you look at the agencies that actually have law enforcement authority, their inspector generals don't actually require you to be a law enforcement officer. But we still keep that requirement. We still get that, so you can still have a police officer. You can still have this does not change that. That may still be the most qualified person. It's so interesting because the argument all in the same instance, it reeks of arrogance and low self-esteem at the same time. Like, I'm the only person who could do the job, but if everybody were able to apply, maybe I wouldn't get the job. It's the strangest argument that I have ever heard in my life, that we don't think that other people should be able to apply. That is the argument that is being made. And so to everyone, because other people will characterize this, the core of the argument is that we don't think other people should be qualified, that we're the only ones that are qualified, that this is the only way to be qualified for this position. And the people on the other side who disagree with this, it's only the entire state of Florida. It's just them. Like, we're right, everybody else is wrong. The Inspector General Association, they put it on their website. What do they know? That's literally what the argument is. Mr. Chairman, I disagree.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, let me have Hardiman and then Senator Garcia.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I was in court this morning. You know the requirements to become a police officer, high school diploma or GED. So you don't actually have to, high school diploma or GED. You have police academy, right, which is a rigorous physical sort of, the testing is a physical examination, if you will. You don't have to do that as you continue to serve as a police officer, but at least in the beginning, they make you take the physical examination and then some psychological things. Beyond that, those are your general requirements to become a police officer. And as the thing is written right now, if you have 10 years of law enforcement experience, if you're a police officer for 10 years, then you qualify to be the inspector general. When you compare that with, for instance, a 4-year undergraduate degree, typically, or a bachelor's, and then also a Juris Doctorate degree, which is a professional degree that many of us know is a challenge, especially if you become a member of the Florida Bar, which is a whole nother sort of standard, because you have to test into that as well. It really is a slap in the face to know that we meaning Miami-Dade County, drafted sort of this legislation that prefers high school diplomas over Juris Doctorates. Speaking to our, my colleagues, it makes sense that a lawyer, someone who is tasked especially with reading law, interpreting law, and expressing opinions through writing, typically in the law, should be considered for employment for someone that you deem a law enforcement officer, if you will. If before someone is prosecuted, or during prosecution of things, people get their cases dismissed all of the time. I'm sure, Mr. Vice Chairman, you've seen someone arrested by a police officer, and then the prosecutor's office says, well, we don't believe we even have probable cause for the arrest, which means not only can you not prove it in court, you don't even believe you had the authority to stop, to detain, to arrest this person, and they dismiss the case. Well, why does that happen many times? Well, maybe because the people who are making the arrest don't understand the law. Because I hate to tell you this, police officers most of them did not go to law school. So they are the first, that's why people say, oh, you can beat the case, but you can't beat the ride. The reason why you can't beat the ride is because the person who's arresting you has all the authority in the world to arrest you. Even if they're wrong in their arrest, they're going to make the arrest. So we find ourselves in a circumstance where we're debating whether or not someone who is an attorney for a number of years, 5, should be eligible to be your inspector general. Of course that person should be. And if you think that then that makes it sweeter for anybody, then what does being a law enforcement officer do? If the argument that Commissioner Gilbert is making falls on deaf ears, then that means you just don't want to hear it. Because when he says to you that there's no other place that requires it to be a law enforcement officer, that's an incredible statement to make. That means then maybe that we are doing it wrong. Maybe we should look at this. Because in fact, the Inspector General is an administrator. And look, you all can praise whomever is the Inspector General from time to time. I don't know how long this Inspector General has been there. It's never really been my concern. But I do remember sitting on this dais when there was an item trying to bury one of our former employees. Bury is the word that I'll use. And I watched that there was a change in the report, and I believe this is correct, if you all remember this correctly. There was a report that was made by the Inspector General's office. And it had been the report for some time, and then they made a change to it. And the one change that they made, and this was in reference to, I believe it was an aviation department or an airport employee. They made one single change to a document. I was wondering what the change was before they published it, from the time that this thing had been static for a long time. And what they did was they put an inflammatory word in front of something else. And I didn't know at the time that's what had happened in this document. But as I read through the document as a trained lawyer, I struck it odd that this word was there. Because the word, is my microphone working correctly? Yes. Because the word, it wasn't factual. It was inflammatory. It gave opinion. It wasn't in the proper place where it should be. It could have only been placed there in order to create a certain perception on this board. And when I questioned them about that word, they had to admit that they included that word like the day before or something when they made that change. And so that's not something I find to be exceptional. That's not something I find to be honest and forthright. That's not something that I find to be something that we should be proud of. I mean, you act as if people who wear a badge or who used to wear a badge are all honest people. If everyone who wore a badge was an honest person, then we wouldn't have any arrests in the department. And the fact that we have arrests in the departments means that there's some people out there that continue to break the law, and those are just the ones that we've arrested. They call them bad apples. But we do know they spoiled the bunch. Okay. But so I say that to you just to say, my mother was a retired police officer. I have cousins in law enforcement. I have uncles that retired from the police department. We have served this country in the armed forces, including the Army. My mother was the only one. I have tremendous respect for the badge, but as I said before, I don't appreciate anyone who hides behind it. You can't put on our flag and expect not to be held accountable for things that you've done that are transgressions upon law enforcement or your badge of itself. And so when I read the changes that have been made in this document, colleagues, I don't see this as any reason to be upset with Commissioner Gilbert. I think this makes it more competitive for that spot. And if you think, for instance, like these are some of the people who are on the current board who help decide who's nominated to us. The dean of the University of Miami School of Law, right? That person shall appoint one person. Well, let me ask you a question. Who appoints the dean? Who selects the dean of the law school? Who selects the president? St. Thomas, same question. Who selects the dean? Who selects the president? FIU. Who selects the president? Who selects the dean? So do you think that any of those people, school FIU, including that person who selects that person, University of Miami, and St. Thomas, do we not believe that they're involved with politics? That they don't have friends? That they don't get together and say, I think you'll be a great person to be in this spot. I'm going to rally my friends to support you. Do you think that this body that comes together here, that no one seems to really see from time to time, do you actually believe that maybe they don't violate what we? I don't know if it applies to them. It probably does. But do you think that they don't violate sunshine? Is there a reporter that's assigned to this body of people to tell you who should not be selected for this job? You know, there are friend circles in all of these things. But what is the populist thing to do is to point fingers at the county commissioner and say, oh, you shouldn't be involved with selecting who the inspector general is, even though we get a chance to confirm or deny, right? You shouldn't be involved in it. So it's bad for you to sit on the board with them. Why? You know, the commissioner took his name or the chairperson out of it. I didn't see a problem with it being in it. Because sometimes you need to have people to see what's actually going on under the curtain when these decisions are being made. Sometimes people act differently when there's a supervisor around. Even though you all have the same authority on that board in and of itself, but people act differently. And so I don't know what the conversations are being had with the public defender's office and our state attorney's office. I'm not in that room, right? But I know that, for instance, if my chairman is there, I have faith and trust that he'll be forthright, that he'll say, you know, I didn't like the discussion that we had on it. Even though we selected this person, it wasn't unanimous. Let me tell you what the vote was, colleagues. I think you should really consider another candidate for this because of these reasons. And we don't have to agree with him. He's just one person that's trying to advocate for his position. But that's better, I believe, than having someone just tell us who it is, and now we have to manufacture an argument against this person, why or why not we should support it. So just because someone tells us to do something, does that mean that we should do it? That's ultimately the question. So when you take that sort of thought process about it, I didn't see anything wrong with the way that it was originally drafted. But we've made changes. And because we've made those changes, then, you know, we'll consider the changes that were made. And with the changes that were made, we've eliminated the county commissioner, who was supposed to be appointed by the chairperson. We're adding to the committee the public defender, a faculty member appointed by the dean of St. Thomas College of Law, a faculty member appointed by the dean of FIU College of Law, and a member of South Florida chapter of the American Society for Public Administration. And we replaced Miami-Dade County Sheriff with the elected sheriff of the sheriff designee. You know, maybe because the people that they appoint are all just so knowledgeable about what it is that the inspector general does on a day-to-day basis. Or maybe they're affected by it. Or maybe they're not. Maybe the dean of the law school is affected by it. Maybe the public defender's office is affected by it. Or maybe they're friends. And so then they say, hey, I'm going to appoint you to these positions, and, you know, we don't know what the discussion is. Do you help? You do it because you do what I tell you to do? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. How do you hold them accountable? I'm not saying something nefarious has been going on. All I'm saying is that when I look at what the commissioner tried to propose is good government. I've never seen such uproar about good government before on this dais. I've never seen that when you propose having requirements that make, well, adding in, broadening the scope in which people can be qualified to serve on this board or in that job, a problem. In fact, it seems to me that the way that it was originally created, it was a golden parachute for whatever law enforcement officer that we decided was going to be there. I know my good friends don't appreciate golden parachutes, even for law enforcement officers. It's just not the right thing to do. These positions aren't things that we should take lightly. You shouldn't be able to just because, oh, I was in the prosecutor's office. Well, I was a reporter. And so now that I was a reporter, I'm an expert on public corruption because I reported on it. And so now I go to the ethics board. Now that I'm on an ethics board, everything that I write, you know, it's going to be taken seriously. And everything that I write, even though I don't have a complaint, I'm going to generate my own complaint. And I'm going to file after 3 years of investigation. And now you get 60 days to defend yourself. That if you don't know, what I've just described is a process in which that the ethics, what is it called? The ethics department? What do you call it? Ethics commission. That the ethics commission, it usurps the law that we determined to be fair for the prosecution of complaints against respondents. And so instead of actually having a complaint, they just usurp it, right? By many, many years. And then after they've filed their complaint, what they do is they say, okay, well, now you owe us some money for the years that we spent violating the rules in order to file a complaint against you. But you have to follow the rules. And so it's like, this is just one of those things where we say we're a country of laws. Then why don't we follow the law? We say we're a country of law, but then we create all of these, we know that all of these things are going on. We know that all these things are happening, so why not close the loopholes? Commissioner Gilbert, I appreciate you taking on this because what you try to do is, let's just close this loophole. Let's close this loophole that people are using to reward their friends. And let's create some real competition in these spots that I believe are important to ensuring that we have the rule of law. And as commissioners, look, we can't stick our head in the sand about this. There's nothing that you can say that we can't take these positions that are just, popular things to say. These are real tough issues. These are very tough issues. And sometimes when you get into the weeds, you find the root cause of the weeds. And just because you pull one weed or two doesn't mean that you've gotten rid of your weed problem. Sometimes you need some weed eaters, something that's going to continue eating at the problems that we have within Miami-Dade County. And so I don't see anything wrong with what you've done. I think you made more compromises than you necessarily should have. But if this is what you want to move forward with, I think this is a step in the right direction. I think that we need people who understand the law before someone goes and tries to accuse people of violating the law. I think we need to have who investigates the Inspector General. And what does that mean? That means that when I know it wasn't our Inspector General who made the change, but maybe he made the approval, maybe he didn't, I don't know. But I know that there's an author of that memo that I've described to you, that author made that change. Made that change. Never punished for it. Never had to address this body about it. But when you're in the Inspector General's office, then you can do whatever you want to do, right? We know by law, as law enforcement officers, you can lie to people to get them to give confessions or false confessions, anything you want. The law is the law. You shouldn't be breaking the law, right? And that's the defense. Well, if you don't break the law, if you're not a criminal, we won't arrest you. Aha, until you're arrested and you're not a criminal. So I encourage everyone to vote in favor of this item because I think that we need an opportunity to ensure that we have qualified people serving in this position. I don't think that being a law enforcement officer in and of itself, with these little pluses that we have here, there's little pluses, to be intellectually honest, that qualifies you for sitting in that position. I think there are other jobs that people have that serve as qualifications prior to them being in this space. And I think that a great sort of idea of, for those of you who come from the state, Senator, I've met individuals who are bakers and candlestick makers who serve in the legislative body. And when I've gone to see them, about CRAs and those main issues, I can look them in their eyes and I can tell they don't know what I'm talking about. But then there are also people who are teachers and, other professionals who get it. They study the craft. They put the time to the task. It wasn't necessary for them to have a certain job in order for them to do the job that they have. But you have to admit, it helps when you're a master at reading comprehension. And so that's what we're asking. We're asking for a little bit of reading comprehension to be allowed as a prerequisite to the Inspector General. Can we have that? Thank you.
All right, I have Senator Garcia. I'm ready to call a question, but I have Senator Garcia and Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Gilbert, you mentioned something that got my attention. You said the Association of Inspector Generals. This is on their website. What does that mean exactly? Is this whole?
May respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for the question. When we started looking at the requirements, we thought, well, there has to be an association. And so we went and found the association. They list what the ideal requirements are for the qualifications of an Inspector General. And so we pulled this information, what we have from that and from the Florida statute, which also speaks to it. So we didn't make up anything in the ordinance. It's not something we conjured or said, oh yeah, I think this will be good. We're not trying anything that other folks aren't actually doing.
And Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that because I did have some consternations a bit, but I appreciate the fact that you have modified it and amended it, so I appreciate the work you've done that. What I don't appreciate is singling out this board as if bad things only happen on this board. I can show you examples of things happening in other parts of this community where even almost entire commissions have gone down. So I think it's in somewhat bad form just to single out Miami-Dade County as a place where bad things happen. But I just want to say also that I don't think that our vote today is indicative of the Inspector General's work. I think he's been doing a phenomenal job for us, and I appreciate the work that he does, and I want to just put that on the record that I am very supportive of the Inspector General, and I will continue to be so.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for one, I believe that the law enforcement background for a position like this is experience that is extremely meritful, from the investigative experience, the criminal analysis experience. That's something that is extremely meritful. And that's why when I look at this item, we're not taking that away. I appreciate that because I, for one, feel that is something that is extremely meritful. However, amplifying that pool, I don't think is something that I am against because I do appreciate how Commissioner Gilbert explained the state and other county requirements, because I know for a fact there are analysts, CPAs, and auditors that are within the FBI. As a matter of fact, I just pulled up the requirements for the Inspector General appointment for the director of the FBI. So when the president nominates or appoints the Inspector General to the United States of America, the requirements, the expertise is demonstrate ability in accounting, auditing, financial analysis, law, management analysis, public administration, or investigations. So I, for one, feel it is extremely meritful for the law enforcement component to be there, but I don't see why just amplifying that pool would be a problem. Thank you.
Commissioner Hardiman. Commissioner Lopez. Commissioner Milian Orbis. Commissioner Regalado.
No.
Commissioner Steinberg. Commissioner Bastien. Commissioner Bermudez.
No.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
4.
Senator Garcia. Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Gonzalez,
4.
Vice Chairman McGee,
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 9-4.
All right. Madam Attorney, I have the left on my end, outside of motions and allocations, I've got the mayoral interim appointment, which is just, I believe it's extending it, and then I have the pool list.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have some potential releases and some additional co-sponsorships. You just let me know when you'd like me to announce those.
The releases we should know.
I have Commissioner Steinberg releasing 8P4.
Okay.
So we would need a motion and a vote, a second and a vote on that. And then for co-sponsorships, you want me to just announce those quickly, or?
Well, let me I'll entertain a motion on AP4. It's been moved by Commissioner Bastien, seconded by Commissioner Lopez, 8P4. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show that item passing. All right, you want to announce the co-sponsorships?
Sure. I have Commissioner Gonzalez, co-sponsor 11A6, 11A7, 11A8, and Commissioner Bastien, 9A2, 11A6, and 8G3.
All right, show those co-sponsorships. With that, Mayor, if you'd like to do your extension of the interim director?
I would love to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm very proud today to reappoint Ashley K. Thomas as our interim director at Cultural Affairs. This is a very important department. As we all know, our cultural community is celebrated internationally. It's central to who we are. It's also a powerful economic engine, a driver of tourism, small business growth, neighborhood vitality, and, as I said, international recognition. So since Ashley stepped into the role in September, she's been a very steady hand. She's provided thoughtful leadership during a pivotal time, and she's also identified nearly $1 million in savings and efficiencies within the department's budget while reinstating 7 mission-critical staff positions at no additional cost to the county. In other words, smart management, responsible stewardship. And she's brought an entrepreneurial mindset and strong business acumen to the role, focusing on long-term sustainability and innovation. She's also leading the integration of agentic AI assistance to streamline the technical review of more than 700 cultural grants, and that is also freeing up our staff to better serve artists and cultural institutions. She's a Miami native, more than 25 years of experience in the arts and culture sector. She started at the African Heritage Cultural Center for her training. That's great credit to all of us. And she's very thoughtful and with her community engagement as well. So the process is underway. We fully expect to resolve it within the next 6 months, which is the period of appointment that we're suggesting for renewal. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Ashley, I know that this is just an extension of time, so you're welcome to say very short words. And I'm hoping that you're applying for the permanent role, I'm sure that's out there at some point, and I hope you apply, of course. And I hear you're doing a phenomenal job. I know my team works closely with your department. So thank you for the work that you've been doing as interim director.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Mayor, the Board of County Commissioners. As stated, I have been in this county, raised by this county, the arts and cultural community, and I'm very, very gracious to continue to serve. And that's my very short message. Thank you so much.
I love it. All right, sounds good. Commissioner Gilbert, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I need to just disclose that when I was the mayor of Miami Gardens, I tried to hire Ashley I wanted to start a cultural affairs department in the city. And so I brought her into, she was going to be the head of my community center, and we were going to run it out of there. The ARSH stole her away from me, so that was very unfortunate. As a matter of fact, we should talk about those ARSH people. But it's extraordinarily talented, intelligent, capable, understanding about what this community is and where we need to go from a cultural perspective. And I think she's an excellent choice for the interim. I think she's an excellent choice for the permanent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Orbis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Thomas, that has a nice ring to it. Congratulations. I'd like to think that we did our master's last year, but really it was 10 years ago, and I've known Ashley ever since then. And she's a wonderful young lady, and I've seen her evolve here at the county, and I'm so proud that you've taken on this role. I know you're going to do amazing things. Ashley and I go way back to when we used to have to do projects with zero budgets, and she would help me, and we would, I'd say, Ashley, I have to make this happen, and she would say, we got it, and we'd always do fantastic work. So I know that you're carrying that with you in this department, and anything that we can do to help you carry your mission, you can count on us. So congratulations. Well deserved.
All righty. Commissioner Bastien.
Just wanted also, Ashley, to congratulate you and wishing you the very best. All right.
Commissioner Hardiman.
Yeah, I think we should save the money and just make her the director. I think that would do wonderful for the morale of the department.
Is that a motion?
I mean, I would make it if I'm allowed to by law. I don't know if I'm allowed to by law, but I see the shaking of the heads. No.
We're not doing that. We're not.
I understand. So, I think it will be wonderful for the department and the morale of the department, because she is someone that has been raised in Miami-Dade County through the sort of the exact aims that we will want for someone to have experience, so they can relay that sort of experience over to our children and our adults in Miami-Dade County. So she's been all over the world. She's tremendously talented. She has family that's tremendously talented. They travel all over the world. People are involved in Miami-Dade County in many different ways. And I've obviously known her for a very long time as well, because I'm a kid in Miami-Dade County, and we were in the expressive arts program at Charles R. Drew. I always forget between the elementary and middle, but it was one of those two. We were either Barracudas or Rams, both together. And I've known her through her time in college, post-college, when she was living, what do they call that place? The under, whatever it's called, Australia somewhere. Like, she's been everywhere as a professional, and now she's back home with us. And so I think we take advantage of times like this, and we give people opportunities to do well who've done well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and congratulations, Ashley. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ashley, thank you so much. We're in good hands, and I've known her for quite some time, and also her family, and I just want to say, just keep up the good work, man. You're making all of us proud. And you're such an example to young girls, particularly African-American little girls who are looking for someone to emulate. You are that example, that shining star. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Congratulations. And Madam Mayor, I think you've heard this body. We really like her. And Ashley's probably saying, I did not put Commissioner Hardiman up to that. Like, that was not my doing. He did that all on his own, but I think the mayor knows that very well, that it's very like him to do that on his own. All right. Madam and Mr. Attorney, can we go into the pool list at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and start with 14A2, Commissioner from District 7. You're recognized as the pooling commissioner.
Thank you. I just have some questions about the item for staff. The item has an expansion, and then it says that it's for Region B, which includes parks in the following districts, and it mentions 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, and 12. So I just want clarification as to exactly what projects are included in this, because we all have our lists and we know what our maintenance issues are. So what exactly is included in 14A2?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina White, I'm PRO's Director. So in this particular item, in this amendment, the projects that are part of this are going to be the Tropical Park Equestrian Center. There's also a small portion of it that we're going to need to close out the Chuck Pezzold Community Center that we're building on our Chuck Pezzold Park, and then other park projects that may come up in Region B. Region B consists of 186 parks. So we've also added additional capacity in there, which is very customary. It's fairly routine in these types of agreements for future projects that we may need capacity for.
But what is the specific allocation? How much is going to what? I mean, I understand you're saying, should there be money left over? I have never found that there's money left over. So you're talking about two main projects. What are the price points for those two projects?
That's hard for me to say today. So there's the Tropical Park Equestrian Center. We're in the RFI period. So we have questions that have come in from potential bidders. And so we need capacity to answer those questions. It depends on what they are, how many there are. I really cannot give you an amount. And then the Chuck Pezzold Community Center, we're almost done building that, and we're going to need to close that out. So again, these are estimates. So we put enough capacity in here to cover those two projects, and then what may come in the future.
And what is the current state of SIP? Because my understanding of SIP is that it's for maintenance. So you and I have talked about SIP
Yes.
a million times. This is bond money. It's supposed to be for maintenance. Is this just straight up maintenance?
These projects that we're talking about, I would not, well, I mean, listen, the equestrian center is there, right? And we do need to deal with it. If we want to continue to have a one-of-a-kind equestrian center, there is work that needs to happen. And so, could it be considered a rehab? Sure. Chuck Pezzle is a new element. And then, the other projects are to be determined.
Commissioner?
Yes.
If I could, I think simply stated, it's a combination of both. We do have infrastructure there that's beyond its useful life and needs to be rebuilt. And there are new elements. The project that's being designed is one that was placed and approved in last year's budget. And it includes a number of new elements and rebuilding old.
So, Mr. Chair, my concern about the new elements, I thought that we had decided that at some point we're just going to use SIP, for maintenance. So, at what point do we just start using SIP to fix roofs and HCs? I distinctly remember having this conversation a few months ago.
Commissioner, we have this project approved out of SIP, and there are some others that have been paid for out of SIP that were new elements. It is the administration's intention going forward in the budget not to recommend anything in next year's budget out of SIP other than what's already approved except maintenance. Anything going forward is maintenance only unless this board has already approved it.
All right. I just think my issue is that this mentions several commission districts, and I understand that if there was money in parks, that would make sense. But I just don't, there is no money in parks. That's part of the conversation that we've been having. So to have an open-ended item like this, I mean, I would rather that this just be about those two projects and leave the rest of it out of it, because I don't want to mix apples and oranges. We'll get to the other stuff when we get to the other stuff. And if we have money, we have money. And if we don't have money, we don't have money. I just don't want to keep coming back with this, oh, the county commissioners approved it, so now we got to do X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z, because we keep going beyond the breadth of our budget.
And Commissioner, the request today is for capacity and not for an expenditure of that amount. It's a capacity allocation that would allow us to use. This item began in 2017. It was a professional services agreement for a host of projects that began in 2017. The Tropical Equestrian Center didn't begin at that point. It didn't begin until about 21. And then we had that existing contract with capacity and used it to do design work to date, and that capacity has exhausted. We have done one other amendment to that contract, but it didn't add money, it only added time. And so you had a contract, it was amended to give time, and then it's been exhausted through a host of projects.
I understand that, but I've seen the list of the maintenance needs, and I understand that you want capacity for design, but I think we need to start prioritizing fixing ACs and roofs and not design work.
We agree.
That's where I'm stuck on this one.
If I may, through the chair.
You may, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for raising these points. This is exactly what we have been saying to each of our commissioners as we went through the budget process and as we go through it again. And not only that, but any new capital will require operating expenses that we also cannot provide. So I think it's very well stated and important for everyone to note that that's the situation that we are now in. And SIP has been used in the past for capital, and we do not recommend doing it again.
So, Mr. Chair, can this just be for tropical and whatever the other thing was? What was it?
The Chuck Pezzle Community Center.
Chuck Pezzle, wherever that is. Can just Chuck Pezzle and tropical, and can we just stop? If you need something, come back to us, but I don't think we can afford it. This is my point. I feel like we keep doing design work and we can't afford it. So we need to stop. Someone needs to get off the crazy tilt-a-whirl.
You can limit it however you choose, Commissioner.
That would be my recommendation to the chair if he's okay with it. I just think
It's
we got to tie a tourniquet.
I definitely care about it because it's in District 10. It's not my item, obviously, but I'm okay with that language. The administration's okay with it. So that's good. Show it as amended, restricted to Tropical Park and Chuck, whatever.
Chuck Pezzles Community Center, yes.
All right. With that, we have a motion by Commissioner Steinberg. On this, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor?
Gilbert makes the motion.
Okay, Gilbert, really? Commissioner Steinberg?
Yes, really.
Commissioner Gilbert makes the motion, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right. So before we go on to the next, you're good, Director. Thank you. Before we go on to the next item, I have some comments I want to make on this, and I like the attention of the administration, my colleagues, and everyone that's here and everyone watching. So, to what Commissioner Regalado just stated, and thank you for being very specific and sticking to the item, Commissioner Regalado. But at least, and I'll speak very carefully because I know that this is under the cone, but at least the Equestrian Center in Tropical Park is something that the voters of Miami-Dade County voted for in the bond for that very facility. So we have, not just the administration, although they brought this forward, but we as a body have a fiduciary duty to maintain our assets to the point that you just made, Commissioner Regalado. But there is something that I need everybody to pay very close attention to, what is happening in this county and what has been happening for a very long time. And at the federal level and even state level, this has been brought up several times, but here at local level, it's not brought up as much. And that is, amongst other things, the rhetoric of fake news. And in this particular case, the fake news herald. Pay attention to what has happened today. We have discussed for almost an hour a very contentious or fruitful conversation on the OIG item. We have discussed for nearly 2 hours a very fruitful conversation on a CRA item with a budget of almost $41 million. And none of those have been written about or tweeted about by the blogger from the Herald. What was tweeted, however, was this item that we just voted on. And it was tweeted about by saying more money to the Tropical Park Equestrian Center, more money being put by Miami-Dade County in a budget crisis towards Miami-Dade County. Managed by Loud and Live. Listen to what is happening here. A company who bidded through an RFP process, and it's not costing this county money. They are paying the county. It is a revenue generating contract. But that's not what they're saying, because that's not clickbait. The clickbait is more money towards Tropical Park. No, this isn't more money towards Tropical Park. This is an investment in something that the voters voted for that is not only deteriorating, but it is condemned and just went to the Unsafe Structures Board, where we just received 12-month extension by the Unsafe Structures Board to take action and remedy these unsafe structures. But there is no mention of a $40+ million item that we discussed for 2 hours. And an hour on an OIG item that, to all the points that were made, can investigate from here to Timbuktu. But a measly $1.85 million allocation to an architectural agreement that is necessary to comply with what the voters voted for gets a tweet from the fake news herald. This is what the federal government and the state government argues when they talk about fake news. This is what it is. So open your eyes, my friends. It is very one-sided, and we are paying attention. Be a reporter, to Commissioner Hardiman's point. Don't let anyone be in your ear about the things that don't matter, that the voters don't care about. And don't ever think, to any person that says they're a reporter, think that the voters of Miami-Dade County are stupid, because they're not. They are paying attention. And they are smarter than the fake news tweets that are being put out and have been put out. Log on, guys. Go and see it. But we are paying attention, and the people of Miami-Dade County are smarter than you all believe. Be journalists. What happened to journalism? Where did it get lost? We have very few left here in Miami-Dade County. We still have some, but very few. Because clickbait is more important than journalism and reporting the facts. Not only not reporting the real issues that we discussed for hours here, but in the tweet, lying. This isn't more money. What money was thrown into the Equestrian Center? What money did we allocate prior on this board? I mean, maybe years back, not since I've been here. And under the management of Loud and Light, they're going to manage this construction? Really? It's news to me. I didn't know they were in that space. They generate revenue for this county. Something that everybody here should probably pay attention to and mirror that model. I've said my piece, but we are with open eyes, and I'm paying attention, and we are paying attention. Not just to the fake news, but to those in their ears. All right. Let's move on with the pool list. Madam Attorney, let's go into item, I think you have some additional releases.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Milian Orbis and Commissioner Gilbert release 8P6. Additionally, Commissioner Gilbert releases 8H1, 8P2, and 8P3. However, 8P2 and 8P3 are aviation items that need a separate vote.
All right, so let's take, well, 8P6 that's being released, is that, but it's got two pooling commissioners. Did they both release it?
Both release it.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to move 8P6. It's been moved by Commissioner Bastien, seconded by Commissioner Orbis. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show 8P6 passed.
8H1 is also released.
8H1, I'll entertain a motion by Commissioner Bastien, seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 8P2, I'll entertain a motion by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. 8P3, moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. And did we do 8P6? Yep, we did 8P6. Any other releases?
That's it, Mr. Chair.
All right, so is it in order to go to 2B4 pending?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, so Commissioner from District 6, you're a pulling commissioner on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this was a report that came back from the budget season where we requested an update on the response times from the fire department. And I'd like to thank, Chief Jadala and the fire department for working so diligently on this report. It's great news what we're seeing. I'd also like to congratulate them on being one of the only departments to receive a Class 1 rating, so congratulations on that. Our residents deserve the very best in public safety, and you are the standard. You're the very best in public safety, so we congratulate you. On the report, I just wanted to ask the administration if we can get a follow-up to this within 120 days, which will be leading up to the budget. So that's exactly 120 days from today is July 1st. So if we can receive an update, because they're pending a vacant parcel that PIOD is working with MDFR to secure that, to have a new station, correct, Chief?
Yes, good afternoon through the chair. We are working with PIOD as we're doing the comparables.
Yes, so if we could get a report, like an updated report on this, just to, as we prepare for the next budget season, I want to make sure that we stay on top of it and that, we're working on shortening our response times. And I know that your department is doing the very best work that you can to make sure that we get there. So I'd be requesting an update on this in July, 120 days after this. That's all.
Through the chair. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for asking for the report, and I was very proud of the results of that report. As you noted, we were, even with 21% increase in calls, we were able to maintain strong response times. That to be said, we need to continue to find properties. We've already expanded 21 new units. That has really helped us. But I will suggest that as soon as we have that information, hopefully well in advance of the 120 days, we will give you that update.
I appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
You're recognized, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'd be remiss, because I thanked HCA earlier today. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing them. If I didn't recognize the great effort that your department does, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your department. So thank you very, well, maybe some of these guys aren't happy that I'm here, but thank you very much for making it possible for me to be here.
We're here.
Okay, thank you. But I want to thank you publicly, because it's amazing, the men and women in your department, how professional, how quick, and we were talking about response times, an amazing response time. So I really want to thank you. I've done it privately, I haven't done it publicly, and I thank you, the administration, my colleagues. I want to thank you for the great job that the men and women of Miami-Dade Fire do, and it's very, very well deserved. I know you've gotten all these national recognitions, and today we had another fire department that does a great job, Miami Beaches, but certainly, you know, you guys are definitely top of the class, and I can vouch for that personally, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, sir.
Commissioner Steinberg.
Thank you. So Natalie, I will second your motion, and hopefully we can amend it to say up to 120 days, because I think the administration will try to get it to us sooner.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
All right, so we move the item as amended, or is, yep, that's a report, all right?
Separate, a motion.
The motion for 120 days.
Perfect.
To
Okay,
accept the
moved.
report and to, yeah, we can do it together.
Been moved by Commissioner Orbis, you're doing it together, seconded by Commissioner Steinberg. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, show the item passed. 8G4?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, Senator Garcia, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. AG4 has to do with appropriating $1.1 million to the Department of Health, which was something that we do standardly, as a standard practice, I'm sorry. What I would like to do, members, is that, as you know, we've been talking about the HIV crisis here in Miami-Dade County. We recognize that Hispanic and African American women, black women, are disproportionately affected by HIV in our community. Currently, in the state legislature, they have eliminated the ADAP, or they're taking money away from the ADAP program. That's the AIDS Drugs Assistance Program that they have. Knowing that we in Miami-Dade County have a higher portion of people living with HIV here, I think it's incumbent that this $1.1 million that are being appropriated to the Department of Health go to offset any of the losses of dollars of insurance premium payments or prescription drug payments under the ADAP program. That's the amendment, Mr. Chairman. Part of that money is already being used for that. I just want to make sure that the entirety of this money goes to offset any issues resulting from any loss of dollars to Miami-Dade County from the state program.
Okay, so amending it. Madam Mayor, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to Senator Garcia for his leadership role on these issues. And we already you passed an urging last board meeting, I believe, in support of full funding for the program. And we are facing, at the state level, a huge cutback on those eligible to a lower income level, which is estimated to drop, is it, Senator, 12,000 recipients of life-saving medications that they otherwise will not be able to afford. So it's really quite a crisis, and I think your point underscores this is about a broad population. This is men and women. This is transmitted heterosexually as well, and really we're unfortunately leaving a huge population at significant risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, so with that, we have an amendment to the item.
Through the chair, if we could allow our Deputy Director of OMB just to respond as to the budget item. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. Thank you. I'd like to ask the attorney, I don't know if this would require us to go back to the Department of Health at any given point to renegotiate the contract, because it is spelled out how that money's used in terms of this contract. I just wanted to point that out.
So yeah, you're correct. The contract does provide for the 1.13 million and to be allocated. So perhaps it would be a directive to renegotiate between the administration, the department, as well as the Public Health Trust. The dollars come from the Public Health Trust.
Then I'll make that motion then to redirect the administration to renegotiate this contract to ensure that these dollars go to offset any loss of premium payments for insurance program or for the loss of prescription drug benefits or payments. And when you look at the item here, you see where it's spelled out. Some of it is going to HIV programming, but I want to make sure that we do offset the program, the loss of revenues to the county, and to try to ensure we take care of our people.
Understood,
And the
Commissioner.
state
Thank you.
is usurping their responsibility.
And so if I may, would also be just to defer the item to do that renegotiation.
If we get whatever you think is appropriate.
It would need a deferral to.
You would need a deferral? Yes. Mr. Chairman?
All right, so it's been moved to defer the item for further. It's been seconded by Commissioner Lopez.
With that in mind, thank you.
All in favor of the deferral signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show AG4 deferred. All right, AP1.
I apologize, Mr. Chair. Just for clarification, the motion was on the deferral and the motion to direct the administration to renegotiate in accordance with the senator's statements.
That was the entire premise of the deferral, yes? Yes. Yeah. All right, so AP1, Commissioner from District 6,
Yes.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a question because this is for polymers that are used for water treatment. They're used for wastewater, but also for drinking water. So that just raised a red flag for me because I read that some of these are not biodegradable. So if somebody can answer, how do we ensure that these polymers are completely removed from the drinking water before it reaches the homes?
Thank you. Would you just mind restating the exact question, please?
Yes, so I wanted to ask about the polymers that are used in water treatment. So they're used in wastewater, but also in drinking water. And that's a little concerning because polymers can be synthetic, they can be plastics and so forth, and they may not be biodegradable. So what safeguards are put in place, or how do you know that they're completely removed before they reach homes, before people drink it in their water?
So I'll try to answer the question through the chair. The polymers are used basically to coagulate suspended solids in the liquid. And that's it happens in treatment process of both water and wastewater. And what that means is that any of the solid particles will settle out in the tanks within the treatment process. So all those settable solids then get removed from it. The clarified water or the clear water then continues through the treatment process, gets additional treatment and ultimately disinfection before it goes into the either discharge of the wastewater plants or into the water treatment system.
Okay, so it's tested before.
Yes, and all the polymers are also, I believe, approved for the exact process of what they're used, whether it's in water and wastewater. It's not, the chemicals that we use are prescribed to be used, evaluated of what the best product is for the treatment train that it is intended to use, and that's continually sort of changing and modifying. And then it does have to have the approvals for those uses in the application that we're using it for.
So you're not necessarily using the same polymers in wastewater as you are in drinking water?
Correct, and even in different processes or different plants, we're using different polymers. We are undergoing actually a study right now looking at the most efficient use of those polymers to make sure that we're using what we need in a prescribed amount that we do need.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Gilbert, seconded by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passing. 8P2, Commissioner from District, we did that, yeah, we did that one, and we did AP3, right? All right.
Yes.
AP5, Commissioner from District 6.
Yes, I had some questions, and I asked Namida earlier, but I wanted to clarify. So this is a pool for items that seem to be purchased, plumbing items that are purchased on an ongoing basis. So I wanted to know why are we relying on purchasing one at a time, right? That's what I had asked Namida, if you can help me out with that, instead of identifying the items that we buy constantly and having those in a bulk purchase.
Thank you. Namita Upal, Chief Procurement Officer, through the chair. Commissioner, that's an excellent question. We always look at what's the best way to buy products or services for county departments. And something like plumbing supplies, where we have, it could be thousands of products and we don't know what we need down the road. So departments try to, at the time of the need, or they can project on their own if there is a special project going on. Products that we need for water and sewer are totally different than what we need for parks. And it's hard to itemize all of your plumbing needs upfront for us to put together a contract. And I think the pools work very efficiently for departments. And then we also have, with the use of the pools, we also get a lot of small and local companies that can participate, as opposed to doing a huge, large contract, like I said, MRO supplies, where you would contract with one company, and then, yes, you can get the discounted prices from there, but that impacts small and local companies, so that's always a balance we look at.
I do see some are local, but I do see a lot of them are not as well. So I think we can do better at identifying local firms that sell these products. And I'm going to be putting in a legislative request for the county for us to identify the 100 most frequently used plumbing items across all departments, because I think that we can identify those items that we do purchase most frequently, depending on the categories, and get ahead of that and be proactive in saving as much as we can. Because if we already know what we need, we can anticipate and purchase them ahead of time.
Absolutely. One of the things that the mayor made sure was to direct every department to use Inform's PeopleSoft for all of their bidding needs. So I'm very hopeful that now that every department is using, we could get data from the system and use it intelligently to do a contract like that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if I may, through the chair, just another comment. We also have substantial outreach to our small businesses, and we're always looking to include small businesses. We have a small business procurement academy and a lot of active outreach. So perhaps we could give you more information, each of the commissioners, so you could publicize it further through your districts. That would be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I think this is also an opportunity for us to use AI in identifying those parts, so that we can be ready when something breaks down to go ahead and anticipate what we need and replace it faster and more efficiently.
Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah.
All right, with that, is it moved? Entertain to be moved by Commissioner Orbis, seconded by Commissioner Bastien. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show the item passed. And thank you, Commissioner Orbis, for that. Look forward to your item. 8P10, also by Commissioner from the district. You release it? All right, show it released. And a motion to move it by Commissioner Bastien. Second by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. 11A4, Commissioner from District 12. You're recognized.
Thank you. And thanks to the maker of this resolution, the urging, because I think it encompasses a lot of things that are important to us, including the voting, majority, et cetera. But I'm going to support it. But I'm just, I wanted to talk about it because I think Representative Barrero, who does a fine job representing our district, has concerns. And I haven't spoken to Representative Barrero, by the way, just to be clear, because unlike some of you, I've chosen not yet to go to Tallahassee. But the reason why I pulled it is because, and obviously it impacts our home rule, so I'm going to support it. But I think we got to talk about this at some point. At some point, I'm going to say, say what I've been saying over and over. At some point, we need to talk about the urban development boundary that hasn't been moved in 52 years with everybody that's impacted, the environmental community, the developers, and the elected body. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that this is not as illogical, even though there's many things that I'm going to support the urging. And I thank Commissioner Cohen-Higgins for certainly bringing it up. But we need to talk about the urban development boundary. We cannot keep on putting a finger on the sun. There has to be some discussion at some point about this issue. And I think it's rational for us to have a sit down with all the players and have a discussion. That's all I wanted to say. I'm a team player, and then that's it.
Commissioner Cohen-Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Bermudez, for those comments, and thank you for your support on the item. Frankly, I've heard you say this a couple of times now. We need to talk about the UDB, and I couldn't agree with you more. We do need to talk about the UDB. We need to convene either a sunshine meeting or a separate meeting to have a long-term comprehensive plan about what we are going to do about the UDB and whether it needs to be revisited with stakeholders on both sides of the issue. And I think we have done that in the past successfully through our UEAs, which is our urban expansion areas. And I think that I would have your full support should you bring an item to the board to create or to convene. And I know our Madam Mayor is doing it through her, and you're going to have to correct me on what the actual terminology of the board is, but I know that that is included in, I think it's a CDMP revision board of some sort, and our mayor can correct me. But to Commissioner Bermudez's point, I agree with you entirely, and I would love to be part of the process of having a discussion about making sure that our environmentally sensitive lands and wetlands are protected, identify those areas with conviction, right? And allow our environmental community as well as our development community to have meaningful input on what that could look like. So I appreciate your comments. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I agree with both my colleagues. And when we have this conversation, we also have, as a part of the conversation, how we actually make exceptions to the UDB. So that at the last meeting, we talked about the text amendment and amending, like figuring out what it is, and figuring out what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then let that drive what it is. So if it's something that's bad outside the UDB, it's bad whether we do it or private folks do it. It's just bad. We're not going to allow it. I mean, but we just need to figure that out. And I'm more than willing, and you all know I hate extra meetings. Not that I don't like hanging out with you all, but I hate extra meetings. But I'll do this meeting. I'll come to this meeting. I'll participate in this. Because ultimately, I think that if we can get it right, or at least draw consensus on it, we could streamline it for everyone else, not just this government and the people who work here, but people who live here and people who do business here. And having that type of certainty actually helps with growth.
Commissioner Regalado.
Thank you. And I would love to participate. I just think we should be honest that the urban expansion area has not worked. Because every time someone brings an application for the urban expansion area, we still have everyone like hair on fire. So I think that's not a good example because, it just keeps coming up. I do think on the wetland part, and I know that the mayor's working on that, there is a definition of what are geographically significant wetlands. And that was a determination that was made a long time ago. So I think that there needs to be a relook at that because that can change some of the discourse on wetlands. And I said this, 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago, when we had this conversation about wetlands in another application. The only way that we are going to secure wetlands that are important to us is to ensure that there are degrees of them. We can't just say that every wetland is the same. Not every wetland is the same. Some are eels, some are not. Some are part of an existing project, some are not. Some are inside BBCR, some are outside BBCR. And that's some of the things that I think that we should be talking about because that has changed over the years. And for those projects and those wetlands and the restoration and the maintaining of those wetlands, I think it's important. So I think we should have a meeting on it. Happy to participate in that. But one of the things that we do have to be honest about is, we take these applications, and over the years, we have been putting areas and asking people to develop them. And then when they come to develop them, we say no. And then also, when we talk about wetlands and the price of them, to also consider the wetland mitigation price. So there's a whole other conversation that we don't have up here about wetland mitigation. So the only thing that I would add to Commissioner Bermudez, if he wants to do that, is I don't think you can have a conversation about the UDB without a conversation about wetland mitigation bank, the cost of wetland mitigation credits, and the location of those wetland mitigation credits. And to Commissioner Gilbert's point, our last application taught us a lot about covenants. And as you mentioned earlier, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So I think we should also revisit the way that we covenant these wetlands in our comprehensive master plan, so that 5 years after, 10 years after, 20 years after, 40 years after, there isn't an undoing of those protected wetlands.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Bermudez.
I can send a memo to you, but I'm going to formally request it, or I could do it today, just so you know, because I think this issue, and I'm voting for this, by the way, because so it's important, because this is, I think all of us understand. And the reason is, a lot of times it puts something that hasn't been looked at, puts us all in a bad position, whether it's in District 8, District 12, or any other district. And I think that it's better to just have everybody at the table, let's discuss it, and not limit it to any particular subject, well, limited subject, but not certain issues. If it, wetlands, we can talk wetlands, that's fine. But let's have a frank conversation. It's time that happens. 52 years is a long time.
Good. All right, Commissioner Lopez, you're welcome to join the conversation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. So I'm going to vote in favor of the urging, and I'll tell you why. Because even though all that's been discussed here is the UDB line, that bill also contains a very unfortunate provision that would allow for large destination resorts to come into our county without no municipality, no local government would be able to stop it. And so I don't know. I don't know about you all, whether you want Six Flags in the middle of your residential areas, with the amount of traffic that sometimes these large destination resorts can bring. For me, my district and certainly Miami Beach, which both Commissioner Steinberg and I share, have already written in opposition of this. So I think you need to realize that sometimes these bills continue to preempt us from the ability to actually preserve the quality of life, particularly in coastal communities. So I just wanted to let you know that although we're only describing the UDB, there's other provisions in this bill that could be very, very negative for us.
You sold me, Commissioner Lopez. I used to love water parks, but I lost my summer body, so I'm no longer in love with water parks. So I'm supportive of the item at this point just because of your statement. All right, with that, we have a motion by the sponsoring commissioner, second by Commissioner Lopez herself. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Show that urging passing. I have two other items, but real quick, can the attorney read my an allocation that I have? I need to read it? All right. I have an this month is multiple sclerosis awareness month, and I would like to allocate $5,000 from my District 10 CBO fund to support the National Multiple Sclerosis Society for the Walk MS Miami event at Tropical Park. I encourage any of my colleagues that would like to support it to do it as well. I've said it before, he's semi-private about this, but my chief of staff, Aldo, has MS and has been dealing with that for many, many years. So I'm happy to always be supportive of it. So I'll have, since I'm chairing, so Commissioner Conagans will move that for me.
I move it.
And seconded by Commissioner Gilbert. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show that allocation done. Commissioner Lopez, I'll take this. And I'm jumping to my stuff because I have to step out for a second, but my vice chair's here, right? Yes. Commissioner Lopez, I'm working on an item regarding arts in public places, and I know you care deeply about housing and things of that nature. If you're willing to be a co-prime sponsor on my item with me, I'd like that. You do it? All right. So Thank you for that, and we could, do I need a motion for that?
No, no, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right, what are you telling me, though?
I have your motion if you wanted me to read it at this time or later time.
Do my motion, I forgot which other motion I have, but go ahead, read my motion.
Mr. Chair, the motions are for the legislative approval.
Yes, that ones we all
Can
do.
read all of them at this time?
Go ahead, yep, do it all.
Pursuant to Rule 5.06A4 of this board's Rules of Procedure, Chairman Rodriguez, Vice Chairman McGee, Commissioner Cohen-Higgins, Commissioner Bastian, Commissioner Bermudez, Senator Garcia, Commissioner Gilbert, Commissioner Gonzalez, Commissioner Lopez, Commissioner Milian Orbis, and Commissioner Regalado each move to extend indefinitely the approval period for all legislative requests eligible for an extension made by each respective commissioner, and Senator Garcia is requesting that another commissioner move the motion on his behalf. Additionally, Commissioner Hardiman moves pursuant to Rule 5.06A4 of this board's Rules of Procedure to extend for 90 days the approval period for all legislative requests eligible for an extension made by Commissioner Hardiman.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner Hardiman, was that what I heard? Seconded by Commissioner Gilbert.
You know I want to mess with y'all, right? But I'm not.
I just want to make a statement.
No.
It's not going to be bad.
But is it gonna trigger Commissioner
what,
Hardiman to mess with us?
Oh.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. But now that we've passed the motion, if you want to put something on the record, you may, of course.
Could you please, at the very least, because I don't know about, we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of indefinite holds, which you know how I feel. But can my office get a list of what those holds are? Because it gets very confusing because we start working.
It works that way, though, right? Does it?
Just from a transparency standpoint, I'd like to know what the holds were for, so that if I'm working on legislation and I see there's a hold, I can require a sunshine. Like, it saves us a lot of,
I should have stuck to my guns and not.
I'm just asking for my office.
Yeah, you just made me regret it, Commissioner Steinberg. Second time today, but Commissioner. All right, so 15D1. If the clerk can announce the ballot results.
Good afternoon. Agenda item 15D1 pertains to the appointment of a member to the Miami-Dade County Land Acquisition Selection Committee. The ballot consisted of 2 candidates, from which the board was asked to select 1 nominee. Responses to the ballot were tallied, and the nominee selected is Mr. Eduardo M. Varuna with 7 votes.
All right, congratulations to that person. All right, Madam Attorney, do you have appointments and allocations for folks?
I've received notice that Commissioner Lopez would like to co-sponsor 11A4, and if there are any other, I don't have any other allocations or appointments, but if anybody,
Okay, so
any other commissioner.
11A4, show her co-sponsoring. And we're done with the pool list? All right, any further business, any motions or anything from the dais? Commissioner Bastian, you're recognized. Microphone.
Mr. Chair, first I'd like to thank you for the gift, and for wishing us a happy Women History Month.
You're welcome
We
very
appreciate
much. I
the
hope you
gifts
like
and
your-
the recognition. I wanted to share that the theme for Women History Month is leading the change, women shaping a sustainable future for all of us. And this month honors the diverse contributions of women who are leading sustainability efforts, not only across environmental, but also economics, educational, social justice, and equity. So to all my colleagues and to everyone listening, happy Women History Month. It's also Social Work Month. Yeah, Mayor Daniela Levin-Cava and I, we're both social workers, and also Kathy Burgers, and then we have many social workers throughout the county. So the theme for all social workers is social workers uplift, defend, and transform. So to all the social workers, happy Social Work Month. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Steinberg. This is going to be my, 3rd time's a charm with you.
I just want to wish all who celebrate today's Purim, and that's happy Purim, everybody.
All right, thank you, and likewise. All right, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 appointments, Christopher Sagara to the Commission on Human Rights and Anthony Jesus Gonzalez to the Commission on Disability Issues.
So it moved by Commissioner Gonzalez, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Show those 2 members appointed to those 2 different boards. Commissioner Orbis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a fun one. I'm hosting a cafecito event for Women's History Month tomorrow on March 4th at 5:30 at Latin American Bakery and Cafe in West Miami. All women and gentlemen are welcome to join us for a fun time and have some cafecito and snacks on us. Happy,
All right,
happy Women's History Month.
Send me the details. I'm happy to join. All right. Anything else?
Lastly,
Commissioner
Commissioner Bermudez, we all love you. All right.
I didn't think anything different. All right. Guys, show us adjourned.
A Pro Football Hall of Famer came to the Capitol to give a warning to parents. Ray Lewis lost his 28-year-old son. The younger Lewis played football for decades like his father, and after he died, he was diagnosed with CTE, which is caused by repeated head trauma. Lewis and others want parents to keep kids out of certain sports until 14.
What is it that we're not hearing? What is it that we're not saying? What is it that we're not doing? There's something that has to change. If not, our kids don't have a future.
Representative Kimberly Daniels says parents should have to sign consent forms on the risks of repetitive head impacts before their children play certain sports. 2 months ahead of hurricane season, emergency officials say they're more prepared than ever. A ribbon cutting marked the opening of a new state emergency